the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Porter. Step forward.
Reginald Johnson is suing his ex-girlfriend, Kimberly Porter, for the return of child support payments he claims he overpaid.
It's not a difficult case. You're not going to need all kinds of papers. You're just going to have to answer a few questions, and I'm going to make a decision. This is what the case is about. Mr. Johnson, Ms. Porter, this is your daughter. There was a child support order for Mr. Johnson to pay for support for his daughter until she reached her 18th birthday. And if she was enrolled and attending school beyond her 18th birthday, then he was to continue to pay his child support until she was 21. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when your daughter, whose name is?
Akila.
When Akila graduated high school, she did in fact start college. So you did in fact continue your child support.
Yes.
And what period of time are you contesting that you paid child support when Akila was not in school?
I'm contesting between August of 2014 to current.
To current?
Yes.
Are you still paying child support?
No, I'm not paying child support right now.
Well, so it's not current.
Okay.
When did it stop?
Till January of 2016.
Now you can stand up, Akila. Akila, were you enrolled and in regular attendance at a college from August 2014 until January of 2016?
No, ma'am. I didn't go to college from August of 15 for the fall semester of 2015.
When did you stop going full-time?
After spring of 2015, I left for a semester, that semester of fall 2015.
Okay, so you were not in school August of 2015.
Yes, ma'am.
Until semester was over in December.
Correct.
Are you back in school now?
Yes, part-time.
What is part-time?
I take one class.
That's not part-time. That's playing.
Judge Judy Johnson says the mother of his child, Kimberly Porter, owes for the return of child support payments.
Now, did you pay child support from August of 2015 until December of 2015?
Yes, I did.
In what amount?
$475.50 a month.
Okay. August, September, October, November, December. Did you pay January?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay February?
No.
Okay, so you did pay January?
Yes.
You have proof of January's payment?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? He paid. So that's 6 months of payments when your daughter wasn't in school.
Right.
And she's still not in school. And did you receive that money?
Yes, I did receive the money.
Then you have to pay it back.
Yeah, but we did enroll in school for the fall semester of 2015.
I don't care whether you enrolled her in school or not. Your daughter's just said to me she did not go to school in the fall semester of 2015. And he doesn't have to pay support if she's not in school. So you have to return to him $2,631. It's as simple as that. It's a simple math thing. That's why you don't need all this paperwork.
Well, Your Honor, during the time that she was attending school, she was receiving failing grades. So
I don't care.
Okay.
The failing grades weren't part of the deal. It says while she was enrolled as a full-time student beyond the age of 18, you were going to pay child support until she turned 21.
But she was also supposed to maintain a grade.
2631. You don't want to cut her off. I don't think that that's what you're about, Mr. Johnson. Now, you have to pay him back the money. You took it. You knew you weren't entitled to take it for your daughter. You knew that he had fulfilled his obligation for probably many years.
Yes, ma'am.
No, he did not. I mean, he didn't.
According to this, he did. Fulfilled his obligation for many years, and you knew that your daughter wasn't in school. I don't know what else she was doing. Either she was sitting up in her room and playing the mandolin, or she was working. I don't know what she was doing, but she wasn't going to school, and her father doesn't have to support her. 2631. That's what you owe him. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Technically, both parents are supposed to pay child support.
I still held to uphold my part of the obligation to take care of her. He should too.
So I was paying my obligation for court order.
She lived with me. I made sure that her needs were met as well.
And she was supposed to pay her obligation per court order.
The grades has nothing to do with it. She was a full-time student.
I really hope that my daughter continues in school.
Well, I'm glad that we can move forward and this is all over with.
Be successful. She's a bright.
Yes.
Where did you meet him?
We had a mutual friend, and we kind of were hanging out probably around North Mankato area. It was the first time we met.
And when did you start to date?
November 2nd.
Where were you living?
I was currently separating from my husband, so I was in the process of moving to my grandfather's house in Lestour.
What does that mean in the process? You were in your car moving, or you still living with your husband and you were in the process of separating?
I already had my stuff at my grandpa's house.
Where were you living?
My address was in New Ulm still, and my new address was in Lesueur.
Let me just understand this. At the time that you met Mr. Goff, you were still living in the house that you shared with your husband?
No.
Where were you sleeping?
At my grandpa's house.
And when did you move to your grandfather's house? Date?
End of October.
Well, that's about the same time that you met Mr. Goff.
Correct.
Got it. Now, where are you living now?
Grandpa's.
And you and Mr. Goff never lived together?
No.
Okay. Now, on what date were you and Mr. Goff no longer dating?
Second week of February, first week of February, maybe.
Okay, so that you dated November, December, and January. Would that be right, Mr. Goff?
Correct.
3 months. At which time you were still married and living with your grandfather.
Correct.
Do you have children?
I do.
How many?
2.
How old are they?
I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
And who do they live with?
Right now, they stay in New Ulm.
With whom are they living?
Dad.
Okay, so you dated Mr. Goff November, December, and January. And on what date do you claim that Mr. Goff gave you a truck?
November 12th, Your Honor.
So when you knew him for 12 days, he gave you a truck, which is part of the reason why we're here. Tell me the circumstances surrounding him giving you the truck.
Well, he was also in the process of separating from his marriage as well. And my understanding was he was...
I don't want you to understand anything. I want you to tell me what he said to you, where you were, where the truck was. I want you to tell me how the gift was made, not what you thought, not what you believed, not your understanding, the circumstances surrounding the gift.
There was a truck in Belle Plaine, Dustin's truck, and he said that he was unable to move it because there was no engine in it. He said if I was able to put an engine in it and work on it myself and get it moved to my grandpa's, because the person that was currently holding on to the truck said that he had a limited amount of time to come get it, that it could be mine.
Did you move it?
I did.
How did you move it?
With K&R tow trucking.
That would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
Last name?
McDermott.
How do you know the plaintiff?
She's a friend.
How long has she been a friend?
About 2 years.
Are you also a friend of her husband's?
I
That would
know.
be the yes or no.
Yes.
Yes. Do you remain a friend of her husband's?
No.
Are you still a friend of hers?
Yes.
Are you a married man?
No.
Sit.
Yes, ma'am.
When a game plan comes together. Now, how did you get this truck, Mr. Goff?
I purchased it with my wife last year.
Are you still married?
No, Your Honor.
When were you divorced?
It was finalized August of last year.
In the divorce decree, who got possession of the truck?
I did, Your Honor.
How much did you pay for the truck?
We paid $2,800 for the truck, Your Honor.
When?
It was August 25th, 2015.
Is that the title to the truck?
Correct, Your Honor.
Merci.
Yes.
Okay, so this truck was in your name,
Correct, Your Honor.
but you have never titled it.
That's correct, because
Why?
when I was getting divorced, we weren't sure who was going to get it in the divorce. And we came to a mutual agreement that she would let me have it. So I hadn't put it in my name yet. And then at that time, I met Dolly, and I was actually hurting for money. So I didn't register yet, Your Honor.
You didn't meet Dolly until the end of October.
Correct.
6 Now, do you remember this discussion that she alludes to where you say to her if she can get it up and running and put an engine in it, it belongs to her?
No, Your Honor.
And how did the truck get to its current location?
She had her friend tow it.
To whose house?
I was to her grandfather's house.
I also have the receipt of the tow.
Now, this was on the 12th day of November, correct?
That she had taken it, correct, Your Honor.
That she
Well, that she had towed it, correct.
Towed it, or that she took it.
Towed it.
Tell me the conversation that you allege happened surrounding her having the car towed to her grandfather's house.
It was my friend's father's house that it was stored at, and he had given me a year that I could leave it there, because at the place that I was living at the time, I lived in a townhome, and they didn't allow more than 2 vehicles, and me and my wife each had a vehicle, so he let me keep it there, and it was coming up to about that year again, and he said that he needed it moved because there was going to be snow, so I was with Dolly at the time, and I was stressing about it, and I was wondering where I was going to put it, and she had said that I could put it on her grandfather's property. So I didn't feel comfortable at the time because I didn't know her grandfather. It had only been 12 days. And when she had brought me to her grandfather's house, I talked to him about it, and he said that he had no issue of me storing it by the shed as long as I covered it up and I had everything was registered, everything was in my name, and I had the keys and title and license plates, and I locked everything up. And he said as long as it was gone before spring, that it shouldn't be an issue.
Sounds like a nice man.
Correct, Your Honor.
I have a statement saying otherwise.
I don't read statements.
Notarized statements?
I don't care if it's notarized in blood.
No statement. Okay.
Now I would like to see bills that I can call and verify, not with your friend. Bills of how much you spent in putting this truck in drivable condition.
I have not worked on the vehicle yet because of court, Your Honor.
Oh, good. Then we're perfect. Good.
But I do have the receipt of the tow.
Oh, I don't care. So you have not spent any money on the truck?
No, not until this is
Great.
finished.
Good. He gets his truck back. The police are going to come and get it from your grandfather's house. 1, 2, 3.
Why?
What? Just because I said so. Because I said so. Now, listen to me. If I believed you, quiet. Listen, you may be able to get over guys. You do not get over me. If I believed you, and what he said to you was, if you can get it going and put an engine in it and get it up and running, you're more than welcome to take it. And you had the truck all of November, all of December, all of January, when there was no court, and you did nothing. You invested not a quarter in fixing the truck because your excuse was, well, I didn't do anything because we had court. You didn't have court because you were still dating in November, December, and January.
And the truck is still in his name. So why would I fix a truck that he'd end up getting back?
Well, he is going to get
it.
Just a minute. He is going to get it back. He is going to get it back. The police are going to come to your grandfather's property.
They tried that already.
Listen, because I'm going to give him an order. Because right now you did have the police try to get it.
Correct.
And the police said it's a civil matter. Well, now the civil matter is resolved. He's getting the truck back. And you can give him back the title because the truck belongs to him. Now we're going to get to, listen to me carefully. You invested zero.
I paid for the towing truck.
I want to see where you deposited that money. No, I want to see where he deposited that money. I know he gave you a receipt. I know your friend, who's no longer a friend of your husband, this single guy gave you a receipt. I want to see where he put the money. You have that with you?
It was all cash, ma'am.
Goodbye. Now, the next part of your case is about his vandalizing of your car. Don't look confused. The second part of your case is about vandalizing your car. Tell me on what date that took place and where.
802 South, January 6, 2016.
Tell me the story. I'm anxious to hear this. I'm really anxious to hear it. Go ahead.
We were in an argument, and I grabbed his cell phone, and I went into my vehicle, and I locked the doors, and he kicked my car taillight, and I proceeded to call
So
the
you
police
stole his phone.
and gave it back.
You stole his phone, went into your car, and locked the doors.
Correct.
And he kicked the taillight.
Correct.
Right. Now, after that, January 6th, and according to your answer earlier, you were together until the first or second week in February.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Goodbye. You'll get an order to retrieve your truck. We're done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Charges are excused. You may step out.
I was under the assumption I got a truck.
When I went to go retrieve it, it was gone.
My understanding is he was going under bankruptcy with a divorce.
And I had no idea where it went. Then she was claiming that I gave it to her as a gift.
He did the same thing to me, Your Honor, with trying to get the truck back from my grandpa's.
And so I called the police and I said, hey, I want my truck back.
I almost got charged with grand theft auto for that, so I'm pretty annoyed.
She tried running me over, actually, because I was trying to get my phone out of her car, and I turned around and I hit her taillight.
I'd rather not comment.
I don't know. I just went through a divorce, and that wasn't even as difficult as this was. I've never had to deal with anything like this.
We made a verbal agreement for damages fixed, and then after we broke up, they were not fixed, so I came.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lenz, Arnold, Smith versus Silverstein step forward.
20-year-olds Natasha Lenz, Rayla Arnold, and Darby Smith are suing their former roommate, Karina Silverstein, for rent and utility bills.
Miss Silverstein, these were your roommates.
Yeah.
You moved out.
Yes.
You moved out 3 months prematurely or more?
More.
More. But they got a roommate to fill in this month?
No.
Oh. Well, you're suing her for rent for February, March.
Yes.
And are you going to be in the apartment in April? Well, what do you plan on doing in April? Suing her again?
We're planning on getting a subleaser, but we tried contacting her.
What does that mean, planning on?
Rayla Arnold and Darby Smith say former roommate Karina Silverstein owes for rent and bills. Karina is countersuing for the return of her security deposit.
Ms. Lenz, does that mean that you have somebody to move in April?
We found someone.
Just answer the question. Does that mean that you have someone in April?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And the name of the person that you have in April?
Paige.
And she's taking over her same amount of rent?
Yes.
When is she moving in?
She will move in when Karina allows her to.
What does that mean?
We want Karina to at least have agreements with Paige. We would like
Miss
Karina,
Silverstein?
Yes, Miss Silverstein.
What kind of agreement do you want her to have with her?
A sublease agreement.
You girls. Okay, this is what this case revolves around. She moved in, you weren't happy with her, she wasn't happy with you. She says that at some point in the beginning of February or January?
January 15th.
That someone sent her a text or a message that said, this isn't working out for all of us, we want you to move. Is that correct?
Yep.
I'd like to see that message. Who sent the message? Raise your hand. All right, Miss Lenz. So you wrote, oh, also, we are meeting on Sunday to amend the lease. We would like to take you off and put Hannah on it. Who's Hannah?
Another girl who's living in our house.
I just wanted to run that by you first. And then she writes back, I'd be taken off as of February 1st, so you can move out if you would like. I know things really haven't worked out as we thought it would, but now you have OU.
An out.
How does that sound? Because I need to let the group know that we are all ready to meet up. Yes, take me off and I will gladly leave, is what she wrote. Based on that, she found a new apartment. And she moved. But then one of you changed your mind. Who changed their mind, raised their paw, and wrote her again and said, we changed our mind? Yes? Anybody? That would be you. On what date did you write to her and say, we changed our mind?
I believe...
The 19th.
The 19th.
Of what?
Of January.
Okay, but she had already started looking for a place. Did you find a place?
I did, and I signed the agreement, and I already paid it as of January 20th.
Well, she's not going to give you any money. Why would you think that she would give you any money? You told her that you were taking her off the lease. Is that okay with you? She found another place to live. She signed a lease. She did exactly what the three of you told her to do. And now you want her to be responsible for February and March rent? What, are you crazy? I mean, are you crazy?
We all signed the contract.
Are you crazy? You told her to leave based upon your agreement. She committed herself to another lease, paid another deposit, and then you changed your mind. But she acted upon your agreement to her detriment. She doesn't have to pay you a quarter. Now, who has her security, you or the landlord?
The landlord.
Well, you can't sue them for security.
Okay.
If they leave the apartment, you have to let the landlord know that your portion of the security has to come back to you.
Okay.
Reasonable?
Yeah, except I would like to be taken off of the lease since I don't live there, and they have 3 different people that could easily replace me on the lease. Is that possible?
Is it possible? Yeah. It's possible if they do it. Now that they know that this is a final decision, they know that they can't go against you for 0.
Okay.
They may be willing to take you off the lease. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. We're done here. Case is dismissed.
Thank you so much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She expressed her feelings that she did want to move out, so we gave her that option.
They would throw my stuff down the stairs since my room was down in the basement.
We had a deal with the landlord, and that deal didn't go through.
They threw all my food away constantly.
So we couldn't amend the lease for free.
And they prevented me from parking in the back parking lot where we lived.
She had to stay on the lease.
Honestly, I was a cheerleader in high school, and I thought that that was as mean as girls got.
I mean, we're living in a house with 6 girls. I mean,
but...
Mr. Asbury, the defendant is your former boyfriend. You claim he destroyed some property that belonged to you. The defendant says that he didn't destroy anything. He merely tossed it all out in the yard. And in addition, he says you took off with his RV. So let me go back a minute. Where were you and the defendant living?
We were living at my stepdad's property, or his house, down in Ferndale.
Were you living in his house or on his property?
We were living in the RV on the property.
Whose RV was it?
It was an RV that we had purchased during the time, or he had purchased while we were together for us to live in.
So it was his RV?
Yeah, he didn't finish paying for it. He never paid for it.
Don't speak.
It was our home.
I don't care if it was your home. He's not your husband. He bought the RV.
Yes.
Okay, so it's his RV.
And I never took off with it.
Just shh. Don't sound foolish.
Okay.
I just asked you a question. I said it's his RV.
Yes.
Now, when did you have this fight, Mr. Owens?
September of 15.
September 15th or September?
September of 15. I think it was the 17th to be exact.
And what was the argument about?
She ran off with her ex-boyfriend for the weekend.
She says that you were angry.
Of course
you
I
would
was.
have a right to be angry.
I mean...
Okay. You have a right to be angry. I want you to tell me what you did with her property that was in the RV.
When I found out that she had spent the weekend running around with her ex-boyfriend, I tried to call her, I tried to call him, to talk to him. No answer from either one of them. I went to my trailer, I took everything that was hers, I set it outside the trailer, I loaded my car up with as much as would fit, and I took that to my storage unit. The rest I left sitting in the yard in front of the trailer.
Now, that's your father?
This is my father, my stepfather, yes.
Your stepfather. He's going to tell me a different story.
Okay, he's...
Just a second. Amanda. What's your last name, sir?
Thomas.
Mr. Thomas, were you at home when Mr. Owens was disposing of your stepdaughter's property?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me what you saw.
I looked out my window, I seen black smoke coming up out of a big old fire. I went out there and I said, what are you burning? He said, I'm burning Christina's clothes and shoes and stuff. And I said, you can't be burning her stuff. You need to put that out because it's going to cause a problem with the fire department and everything else. And I walked away and said, this ain't right, this ain't right. And I walked away.
Did he tell you why he was burning her thing? Shh, put your hand down.
He was angry with her and she had it coming.
Is that what he said to you? Just that he was angry and she had it coming?
Yeah.
He didn't tell you that she was away with her boyfriend? He just said he was angry with her and she had it coming.
What about her stuff that was in his house afterwards?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. Wait. What?
Your Honor, this is after a year of him. The reason why I left, I broke up with him. I wasn't running around with my ex-boyfriend.
Yes, you were.
He was cheating on me the whole year.
That's a lie.
And I broke up with him.
I would say you should be right in the middle over there.
Okay.
I was there night prior, hanging out with her.
I don't want to hear from you. What do you think this is? I don't know where people think you are.
Especially coming from the one who ran off with her clothes. You know what I mean?
You're going to pay her $500 for all of her clothes.
How can I pay her $500?
You want to know why?
Do you want to know why?
Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because you just shouted out.
I'm not shouting out.
Just a second, you just shouted out.
I had something to say.
Not unless I ask you.
Well, ask me a question then.
I don't want to ask you a question, Mr. Owens.
I don't see how I can be held accountable for her stuff, and she just gets to take all mine and run off with it.
Just a second.
She's the one who told me she stole my trailer.
Your Honor.
She's the one who ran off with all her clothes from in front of it.
I have
Her witnesses are the ones who took her stuff.
I have a thing saying that I burned all your shoes. A text message from him.
I went through 22 phones last year. I bet she does.
If you open your mouth again, anybody, without my asking a question, I'm just going to throw you all out, which would actually be a joy for me. Do you understand?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Great. Now, that's what he's going to pay you for the clothes that he's burned. Now, I want to know, listen to me carefully.
Okay.
I want to know where his RV is.
Your Honor.
Look at me.
Can I show you?
No, you can't tell me anything.
Can I show you? He said he sold the RV. I have a text message saying I already sold it.
Just a second. So with what you're... Look.
I'm sorry.
Look over here.
Yes.
Are you on something?
No,
Do you take
I'm not.
medication?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
After dealing with him, I should, but no, I'm not. I have a message from him saying that he sold the trailer.
I'm just asking you a question.
Or the RV.
I said, where is the RV? If you say, I don't know,
okay,
then I'm going to turn around and ask him a question. Mr. Owens.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is the RV? No, don't look over there.
Apparently,
I
do not know where my RV is. When I went down there to get it, her stepfather told me that she came down with the truck and pulled it out of there.
It's a lie.
Did you hear what I said?
Shut up.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Miss Asbury says that she has a text message from you, listen to me carefully, that says that you sold the RV. I am going to look at that text message. So I'm just going to ask you a question, because now you say to me, I don't know where the RV is.
I don't.
So I'm going to ask you another question before I look at her evidence.
Okay.
Did you sell the RV?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Give me the last date when you saw the RV.
Well, I'm not sure the exact date because I had to go to McKinley to work, and I was gone up there for about a month. When I came back, it was gone.
Just a second.
Can I say one more thing, please?
Yes.
I went through 22 phones last year, breaking them and losing them. And I'm not quite sure, but I have my suspicions about where some of them went that I lost.
I don't know, and I don't care where your 22 broken
You know what I mean?
phones
But
were.
I mean-
If you saved up all that money, perhaps you could live someplace other than an RV on your girlfriend's stepfather's property.
Where she wanted us to be.
Just listen to me. Don't answer me back. That's one of the joys of this job. I don't have to listen to people who are standing there answer me back.
Okay.
Now, you put your hand down. I don't want to hear you.
Okay.
Do you know, look at me, mister, do you know where the RV is?
No, I don't, ma'am.
When was the last time you saw it? Now it's on you. Look at me. Don't look up. It's
I'm
on
trying to
your
remember the date.
property.
I took off. I came home. I was gone for 2 or 3 days. I came home, the RV was gone. My roommate said...
No, don't tell me what your roommate said.
Okay.
Just tell him who was there the night before.
You don't know where the RV is?
No, ma'am.
What proof do you have, Mr. Owens, that the plaintiff took your RV?
Her stepfather told me that. And I bet you everybody in his house would have heard it.
Just a second. When and what did her stepfather tell you?
When I went back down to Ferndale and went to the house, my RV was gone. I walked in the house. I said, Kenny, where's my trailer? He goes, Christina came and got it a couple weeks ago. That's exactly what he said to me.
Okay. Now, he said Christina came and got it a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'll see the text that you want to show me.
That anybody could have wrote.
No, it's from your Facebook. Your name's
I'm going over this behavior.
Okay, okay.
You remember when you told me that Mr. Owens said to you that he was angry at Christina and she had it coming, you remember? You wanted me to believe you, right?
Yes.
Because it was true. Now, when Mr. Owens came back looking for his RV, did he come to the house?
No.
He never saw you?
No.
Never came back for his trailer? No, I don't believe that. Good. Now you're going to show me your bill for the trailer.
Ma'am.
He doesn't have...
When did...
I don't.
Speak. I want to know when you bought it, how much you bought it for.
I bought it for $2,500 in October of 2014.
Show me.
That's a lie. Your Honor, he's straight up lying.
I'm going to dismiss your case. Your case is dismissed. You're not getting $500 for your clothes.
No,
do you understand? You're not getting $500 for your clothes. Now I'm only entertaining his counterclaim. Do you understand? Because I told you, if you shout out again, that was going to happen. So it happened. That's what happens. That's consequence.
You're not even giving me a chance.
No.
This is crazy.
You mean in October, which is towards the end of the year, this bill of sale, they didn't remember what was 2014 or 2015? Is that what you're saying to me?
No, I'm saying that the surface that they were writing on.
What? Talking about this.
People make mistakes, Your Honor.
I don't make mistakes.
I do. Everybody does.
Not in October of the year, sir.
Why not?
Maybe in January, when the year first changes, what you do is instead of writing 2014, you write 2013.
What about
if the year is just turning. But in October,
what about somebody who lives
by
on a mountain?
October, you have to be dealing with very, very slow, dim-witted people.
Exactly. You are exactly right.
If they can't, well,
exactly.
I'm not slow and dim-witted. The truth
People
of the
who only
matter
come
is
off
you
the mountain
deserve
twice
each
a
other.
year.
Both of you. I don't believe this. Your case is dismissed. Yours too. We're done. Goodbye.
Please excuse me, step out.
That girl stole everything I owned. Everything I owned. I'm talking my trailer, my home, my clothes, every piece of paperwork I ever had.
I didn't steal his trailer.
Because I was mad because she ran off with her ex-boyfriend for the weekend.
Because he's a liar and a cheater.
And her stepdad's the one who told me she took it.
Because I loved him. And he said that he would make it right.
My friend called me and said he had just seen her in the car with her ex-boyfriend.
I never cheated on him. I stayed home every night while he was out running around on me.
Of course she thinks that. I work. I'm gone all day. She sits at home and does nothing but plot on me, I guess.
And when I broke up with him, he burned all my stuff.
I thought that she was cheating on me.
And that's years of collecting and stuff.
Of course she was.
No, he's a liar.
What relationship?
I will never, ever even talk to him again. He had one chance to make right with me and he...
I mean, I won't lie, I love the girl with all my heart. And if all it would take is I'm sorry.
That up, just like he does everything else.
And a smile, and I take her back. But she doesn't know what love is.
Am I going to protect myself? I'm not going to deal with him. He's the only person that can...
Have a seat.
Mr. Estrada, where did you meet Miss Conroy?
I met her on a dating website, Your Honor.
Which dating website?
It was an adult dating website.
And when did you meet her?
First contacted about 3 years ago, casually, just talking. And then we officially met about a year ago in February last year.
Okay, and you live where?
I currently live in San Gabriel Valley.
You had to think about that for a minute.
Well, I just moved because of this case.
From where?
From North Hollywood to West Covina.
Okay. And last year, in February, where were you living?
In Studio City.
And where was Miss Conroy living?
In Santa Barbara County, La Conchita.
Now where does she live?
I believe she's in Colorado. Don't know exactly where.
Did the two of you ever live together?
Yes.
From when to when?
From February until just recently, in February, for a year.
Just a second. So you lived together from February 2015 to February 2016?
Yes.
And where did you live until February 2016?
We lived in a couple of different places. When we first met, she moved in with me into my apartment where I had a roommate. My roommate was not happy with having a couple living there, so I got us another place to live.
Okay.
And then we moved into a studio apartment in North Hollywood where we lived together from July until February.
February what?
Of 2016.
I know February 2016, February 2nd, February 5th, February 15th.
Well, we were evicted, and I believe the eviction date was February 3rd of 2016.
Well, the eviction date may have been February 3rd, but that doesn't mean you moved out February 3rd. When did you move out?
We moved out on the 3rd, and then she stayed with me for a couple of weeks at my parents' house while we looked for a place.
A couple of weeks after February 3rd. Yes. So you stayed at your parents' house. Where is your parents' house?
West Covina.
So let's say you stayed at your parents' house a couple of weeks, 20 months, until February 24th. That would be 2 weeks. February 3rd,
no,
2 weeks?
She only stayed with me for about a week and a half before she left.
Okay, week and a half. So we're talking about
the 17th, I would say.
February 17th.
Yes, ma'am.
Until she left. And tell me under what circumstances she left.
Well, I terminated the relationship when she confessed to me that she had sold herself to one of her Uber passengers. That was in February.
While you were living at your parents' house?
Yes, actually, is what she told me.
But you had to think about that for a second.
Because I was away on business when she told me, and she had gone to my hotel to tell me in my hotel room.
She came to your hotel room where?
In San Bernardino County.
You think this is going to be easy? This is not going to be easy?
No, absolutely not.
You knew it wasn't going to be easy, right?
Yeah. It's in San Bernardino, where I was on business.
So she came to your hotel room to tell you that she had cheated on you with an Uber passenger because she's an Uber driver?
Yes, ma'am. For money. She cheated on me for money.
All right. So this is what your lawsuit is. So I'm going to handle it very, very expeditiously. You lived together as a couple, according to you, until about the 17th of February of this year. And when you say you lived together as a couple, I assume you stayed at your parents' house, sir. If I believe this whole story, you stayed at your parents' house. They gave you one room. So the two of you stayed in a room. At your parents' house for a week and a half?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And prior to that, when you lived in a place where you were evicted, and I assume you were evicted for?
Not paying rent.
Not paying rent. And you hadn't paid rent for a while, because they don't evict you after 30 days. They evict you after a long time. Yeah. So now you're living in an apartment with her and living as a couple, and then you go to your parents' house and you're living as a couple, right? So you're suing her for rent.
No, ma'am.
What, just a second. Money owed for unpaid rent, assault, and the cost of a computer.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're suing her for rent.
And the cost of the computer.
Just a second. Let's take the rent first.
Okay.
You're suing her for rent for...
Actually, ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's not actually for the rent. It was for money that I borrowed from a friend to pay back rent. We fell behind in rent. If you like, I can explain more.
No.
Okay.
It's for old rent. And after she didn't pay the rent, you slept together, reconciled, right? I'm not interested in the rent. So now that we've gotten rid of rent, the next thing is an assault. The assault took place on what date?
I'm not too sure of the exact date, Your Honor.
Well, if you're not sure the exact date, then Bird and I have other things to do today.
It was in October.
In October. And then you lived together in November.
Yes, ma'am.
And December. And January. And February. And canoodled. And played footsie. And kept each other nice and warm and
it's
comfy.
Not the direct, Your Honor. She lied to me a lot during this process.
I don't care. I don't care. 10 million people don't care. Bird doesn't care. It's called condonation, which means if she assaulted you and you forgave her by sleeping with her, we don't care. That's your problem. Somebody assaults me, I don't go back and canoodle. You chose to go back and canoodle, that would be your problem. Not interested. Okay, now the next thing is your broken computer. On what date did she break your computer?
It was that day in October, Your Honor.
In October. Yeah. Now, after she broke your computer in October, you canoodled together October, November, December, January, February, at your parents' house. And maybe at this motel where she, whatever, I don't care. Did you bring up the computer?
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
Did you bring up the computer to her?
She promised to pay it back and to replace damages she did.
And she didn't. Now we're going to get to your counterclaim, which is for money owed for assault and harassment. And you say in your counterclaim that you had an argument with him, and during the course of the argument, you wanted to leave, and he didn't want you to leave. He took your keys. You struggled over a bag that he was carrying. Is this all sounding familiar to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And during that struggle, he broke your finger.
That is correct.
What month was that?
That was October.
October. And who did you live with in November? Him.
With Patrick.
And December. And who'd you celebrate New Year's Eve with?
With Patrick.
With Patrick. And you and Patrick have now been on the outs with each other for about 3 weeks, if my math is correct. Maybe 4. Is that right?
Correct.
And look, you find yourself in court, annoying me. Well, I don't want to be annoyed anymore. I assume that you're happily not together anymore?
That's correct.
Wonderful. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I cheated on him, and then I told him all these horrible things to get him to break up with me finally.
Well, after I proposed to her, she started to slowly unveil all these issues that she had.
He's upset that I broke up with him and won't get back together with him.
And when I finally realized what was going on, I put my foot down, that's when all the drama started happening.
He's been very vengeful and upset.
And then finally, when she couldn't hold on to her lies anymore, she just kind of confessed it all.
His anger and violence.
Yeah, it's absolutely 100% unfounded.
I received a black eye.
Like most people who know me know that I'm not a violent person.
From being punched in the face, a broken finger.
I've never really acted out in anger.
Pulled my hair, dragged me across the floor.
So the fact that she can say that I was a violent, angry person.
I was afraid of him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fiorentino versus Brown Cook. Step forward.
Robert Fiorentino is suing his former tenants, Joseph Brown and Norman Cook IV, for unpaid rent and damages.
Mr. Brown, what was the address of the place where you were living?
Union Street, 2nd floor.
And you lived there for 4 years, is that right?
Right around 4 years, yes, Your Honor.
Who owns that address, Mr. Fiorentino?
I own the property, Your Honor.
So when you purchased the property, they were already living there?
Yes.
Okay, great. And when did you purchase it?
November 14th, I believe, 2014.
Did you have a written lease with the defendants who lived in this
I inherited
apartment?
the lease from the previous owners, yes.
Okay, do you have that?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. When did you leave the apartment?
In the beginning of September.
September?
Yes.
Of 2015?
Yes.
Okay, well, the lease was up on August 31st, 2015.
Yes, I also paid all of August's rent.
What date did you leave in September?
I don't know the exact.
What date did they leave in September?
They didn't leave in September. I think he actually moved out of the apartment right around October 1st, but the lease did carry over and renew month to month. And
No, he didn't live. Listen, I know that that's what you're looking for, Mr. Fiorentino, but that's not going to happen because this is what your lawsuit is about.
Judge Judy Fiorentino says former tenants Joseph Brown and Norman Cook IV owe for unpaid rent and damages.
Now, you didn't like the defendants in that apartment. You had been receiving complaints, according to you, from neighbors that there was some suspicious activity, drug-related activity in the apartment. You wanted them out. And they moved.
Well, I gave them the option.
You wanted them out.
I have text messages where he said he was going to stay in the apartment, and I said, okay. I wanted him to leave on his own volition.
I said I wasn't. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
And he agreed to pay.
I wanted him to leave anyway because he had been a problem from the beginning. He planned on going month to month with a 60-day notice. He paid for September's rent, but then he canceled that check and the check bounced. Now, you paid September's rent.
I gave him a check for September's rent, and I canceled the check because I moved into a new apartment, but I didn't have the money to pay there.
That's not what you said in your answer.
I'm sorry.
You said you canceled the check for a different reason.
I canceled the check so I had money to move into a new apartment.
No, that's not what you say in your answer, sir. You say, I gave him a check for September's rent, but he never returned my security deposit.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I don't...
And that's why you canceled the check.
And he also...
Okay, this will tell me how much security deposit there was on the apartment. You had $1,100 in security, which you inherited from the owner.
That's correct.
Did you return that to him?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
And also...
However, there were many damages. I could show you. There were drugs in the apartment.
Just a second.
Sure.
What you're suing for is that he didn't give you 60 days notice.
No, that's not correct.
Sure.
If you look at the exact wording, he gave 60 days and then did not pay on any of those 60 days.
I don't care. He was out.
Your Honor, yes.
Listen to me.
Thank you.
He was out, and
he left all his property.
Just a second. You want him out of the apartment. He pays you rent. He's up to date in his rent. He moves out. You don't return his security of $1,100, which you have. Well, you actually used the security deposit for your last month's rent, which is why you canceled the check.
Yes.
Okay, so now that's a wash. Now you're going to show me the damage that they did to the apartment, because you wanted him out of this apartment.
Might I say, I wanted...
Listen, don't equivocate. Just show me the damage, sir. And mind you, they've lived in this apartment for 4 years. I also want to see the police report.
Would you also like to see the drug ledger where you...
What?
There's a drug ledger there.
No. Did you understand what I said? Your complaint said that you called the police to have the police remove the drug paraphernalia. I want to see the police report. Fiorentino is the new owner of Street. Today he had cleaners at the rental unit. They found several pieces of plastic, cut up big pens, which appeared to be burnt. These are commonly used for smoking marijuana. There appeared to be marijuana residue also found. Former tenant was Joe Brown. He had no information on Brown, as he did not rent to him.
Might I also point out that I wasn't allowed to remove his property for 30 days because that's the law in Pennsylvania. So he was renting that. I couldn't put a new tenant in there. I couldn't clean. I couldn't do anything while his property remained there that you see in those pictures.
What property are you talking about?
There was furniture in several of the pictures and just garbage strewn about the property. I wasn't allowed to do anything with it until 30 days passed. I also have the
Is
text.
this your, just a second. Hey.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Judge Judy Robert Fiorentino says former tenants Joseph Brown and Norman Cook IV owe for unpaid rent and damages.
Now, is this your sofa?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
What'd
Yes.
you leave it there for?
Because it was Thursday, the trash comes Thursday. Like I told you, I lived there for almost 4 years. Every Wednesday night, the trash would be put out. It just so happened this Thursday, when I went to go put trash out, the trash was full. I have a paper
Just a second. Trash was full. How you put...
I have
It's in the
paper of him
trash.
complaining about me having anything on the driveway or by the curb.
I don't
trash.
care. Move it.
Okay, Your Honor.
Move it. You don't leave it for somebody else to clean up after you.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
I understand.
You have to move it.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what's this junk?
That was where the police found the drugs.
Well, this is also stuff there. It's a dartboard, it's a table, it's a stool. Whose stuff is that?
There was 3 or 4 people that lived there before Norman even moved in.
We're
and
talking
it
4
was
years
other
ago.
people's stuff.
No.
Well, I didn't know what to do with it. I'm sorry.
All right. So now do you have a bill to get rid of all this stuff, Mr. Fiorentino?
I have documents for the cleaning.
I'd like to see them. And the trash removal?
The trash removal I did, I took off of work and did with myself and some friends. The painting, everything smelled heavily of smoke, so we had to get...
They lived there 4 years, sir. You bought the premises and you bought it with them as tenants.
Thank you.
I also have the text here where he renewed the lease.
Did you hear what I said? You wanted him out of the apartment. He moved out of the apartment. And he paid you pretty much up until the time they moved.
Well, I wasn't able to rent until I was able to clear all that stuff out. So that was 2 months that was shot for me. And he agreed to live there for 60 days, to pay for 60 days, and he didn't.
This invoice, I don't believe. This one. It doesn't even say who the painter was.
It doesn't say Craig on there? A gentleman named Craig?
Now, I want you to show me proof, Mr. Brown,
Sure.
of the lease where you are currently living, when that started.
I didn't bring it with me.
What's the name of the realty company that manages it?
I didn't have a realtor company. I have the address.
How did you rent it? Who did you rent it from?
I saw a for rent sign outside, and it just so happened I was in the predicament I was, so I called. I lived there.
I'm not following all you people actually started.
I didn't bring it with me.
What's the name of the realty company that manages it?
I didn't have a realtor company. I have the address.
How did you rent it? Who did you rent it from?
I saw a for rent sign outside, and it just so happened I was in the predicament I was, so I called. I lived there.
I'm not following all you people actually.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by. Do you have concern? Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, is the apartment rented now?
It is.
For how much?
For $1,200 a month as of January 1st.
Very good. Do you like the tenants?
They're nice tenants. Yeah.
Very good. And you have his security deposit that you would at least use to partially defer some of your expenses.
Which doesn't cancel out the October that I wasn't able to because of his property there.
We're done.
Thank you, Your
The
Honor.
case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
3 or 4 people living there before. There was property that was left, obviously drug paraphernalia.
My neighbors would come up to me and complain about people coming in and out of the property.
His ledger, whatever he found that had to do with drugs.
They're saying that people would come in, leave a minute later, just random people all the time.
I don't do drugs. He doesn't do drugs. He has a very great job.
Presumably buying drugs. One of my neighbors said she saw them doing drugs through the window.
I'm also a barber, so I would have people come in to do haircuts, so if that's what he's getting at with that, I don't know.
Because I didn't like the tenants doesn't...
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bruno versus Brewer. Step forward.
James Bruno is suing his former tenant, Carla Brewer, for damage to his rental home.
Mr. Bruno, The defendant was the tenant in a home that you owned for 5 years. When was her tenancy from? From when to when?
It was October of 2010, leaving on July 5th, 2015.
And when you rented the house to her, who were the tenants in the house?
The lease called for her husband, Gary, her, and 3 children.
And how old were the children?
10, 8, and 12 maybe, right in that range.
When the lease started?
Correct.
Now, when had you purchased this house?
Approximately 3 years prior.
Did you buy it at a distressed sale, at a distressed price, or was it height of the market?
Can I explain? I own the house across the street, and there was an elderly woman that lived in that home. She passed away. A relative came to sell the home, and I went over and talked to him, and we just discussed, and we negotiated a deal and bought the house.
So an elderly person lived there for a long time?
Correct.
And you bought it in 2007. Did you ever live in the house?
I did not.
Did you rent it in 2007?
Yes, I did.
From 2007 to when?
It's still rented now. It's right close to a college, so we get a lot of students, so we get 1 year lease, and then they're out, and then
so
another.
You had students living there from 2007 to 2010?
No.
Who did you have living there?
I had a young couple living there from 2007 to 2009, and then students from...
Students from 2009 to 2010?
Correct.
Can you produce any bills for me of any renovations that were made prior to the defendant moving into the house?
No.
So can you present any bills to me of any renovations that you made to the house prior to the young couple moving into the house?
No.
So it would be fair to say, Mr. Bruno, and we're speaking, you and I, very frankly, that from the time you purchased the house until the time that the Brewers moved out of the house, you made no structural changes to the house or any major repairs?
Painted the outside.
That was it?
That was it.
So you did a little cosmetic work. So
Correct.
The bathrooms, the kitchen, and everything else were the same when the elderly lady lived there for many years, up through 2015.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're claiming that after 5 years of tenancy, the defendant caused a great deal of damage to the house, and you wanted to be responsible for that damage.
Correct.
Okay.
Judge Judy, former tenant Carla Brewer, damaged his rental home.
Now, did she have a security deposit with you?
She did.
How much?
$950.
Did you give it back to her?
I did not.
Okay, so now I'd like you to show me pictures of what you claim a damage that Miss Brewer inflicted on your property that has not been renovated in well over a decade except for a paint job on the outside. What is this a picture of?
Pantry.
Are you planning on renting this house again?
It is rented currently.
With the same oven?
Oh, no.
You put in a new oven?
No.
What did you do?
It was cleaned. Took them a while, but they cleaned it.
What's this a picture of, sir?
There is a separate storage room just off the back patio, and that's the door to it.
Well, I'd like you to look at the bottom of this door, and I'd like you to tell me what the bottom of that door looks like, sir. Tell me what damage do you think a person did to that door as opposed to years of neglect?
I can't tell you what the people did to it.
No, I'm just asking you. I'm looking at the bottom of that door that you would like her to pay for, and I see a door that's falling apart, that's coming apart. And it's not coming apart as a result of anything anybody did to it. It's coming apart because it's ancient.
I disagree with you, Your
You
Honor.
disagree with the bottom of that door?
Also, Your Honor, we did not charge her for the door.
So what are you showing me a picture of it for?
We repaired the hole in the door and the hole on the other side of the door that had a fist hole in it. And if you look, it's consistent with most of the bedrooms.
You see, if I were a reasonable landlord, I would have replaced the whole door, which is falling apart, and paid for it myself. This house has been a cash cow for you for 5 years. I would have done some major renovation in it.
And then rented to students again. That's what we are. So there's a give and take.
So what you want to do is rent to students and leave it like a pig pen. And if you leave it like a pig pen, that's the way people are going to treat it. And what's this supposed to be a picture of?
That's the air conditioning unit in the backyard that had a screwdriver or something punctured.
Or rats. I don't know what it is. Okay. How much was your rent over the 5 years?
It started out at $9.50, then it was raised $50 3 times since then.
So, did you buy this house free and clear, sir, or is there a mortgage on it?
There's a mortgage.
How much?
Roughly the balance is $130,000 now.
How much do you pay for the mortgage a month in taxes?
About $1,400 a month.
Well, then her rent doesn't cover the mortgage.
You're correct.
Then how do you expect to be in business?
Well, it's based on...
Well is not an answer.
I apologize. The property value hoping that the property values increase and we're able to sell it. And it's not all about the monthly income.
How much do you rent the apartment to college students?
$1,200 a month.
And is that what you were paying?
$1,250, I believe, wasn't it? No.
So now you're renting it to college students again?
I am.
How many?
3. Place looks great.
Wait till the end of the year.
No.
James Bruno says former tenant Carla Brewer damaged his rental home.
Now, I don't find anything here so egregious. I don't find anything here more egregious than normal wear and tear with 5 adults living in a house that hasn't been cared for in well over a decade. Usually, I'm very lenient to landlords because I don't like people that destroy their property. But you're using this property as a cash cow. You're doing no renovations in it at all. There's a stove that you showed me that looks like it's at least 25 years old, that if I were renting it to anybody, I would spend $250 and replace. You chose not to do that. You chose not to replace a door that's falling apart. You probably puttied up a hole. If I owned property that I was happy with and that I thought would increase in value, I mean, unless what you're thinking of is that somebody's going to come in and tear down the house because the value of the property is what the value is, not the house.
Does the lease have any bearing on that they have an obligation to put the house back in the same condition it was when they moved in?
Show me the condition it was when they moved in.
Here you go. Unfortunately, not as many pictures, and I've got countless other pictures of the rest of the damage, Your Honor.
Just a second.
There's
I'm
damage.
looking.
I don't understand why the damage doesn't matter.
Just a second. Is this the way the bathroom looked when you moved in?
I might have to see them closer,
Okay.
please.
Bathroom, kitchen, and outside. Okay, these are absolutely beautiful pictures.
It's a beautiful house.
And I'm looking. I don't have any of those same pictures in this group of pictures that you gave me. The bathroom.
Your Honor, what about the
kitchen?
things on the list? I have a list of what was done. The faucets.
I don't care what was done.
So if they take a faucet and
I don't care.
That doesn't matter?
I don't care what you did, sir.
Oh.
I don't know who did it. You had an old house that you took marginal care of. Now, I'm asking you a question. Is that the way the kitchen, bathroom looked when you moved in?
These look better. I mean, the pictures, I don't know when these were taken.
My question was, were those the pictures of what the house looked like when you moved in?
No, I don't think so.
Well, they're not dated.
Yeah, that was the actual picture from the Craigslist ad that she answered. But
Well, that
and the
doesn't
reason
mean,
the house was
that
painted,
doesn't mean that that's when that pictures
house
were
was
taken.
painted.
Because right before she moved in, sir, you had a bunch of college kids living there.
I did not have a bunch of
That's
college
what you-
kids, Your Honor. I had 3 college kids.
Yeah, Mr.
They did
Bruno,
not do the damage.
let me explain something to you. I'm not giving you any more money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had a house for over a decade. You did absolutely nothing in it. You had a paying tenant who paid you every month on the rent. There's no issue with regard to that. You kept a security for cleanup of the house. You've rented the house consistently, sometimes to college kids, sometimes to couples. The couple only lasted a short period of time. They lasted 5 years. So if you want a nice sparkling house, I suggest that you take care of it. Your case is dismissed. We're done.
Excuse me, step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I do have 4 kids, and there are things that go on, but
It was destroyed. It was disgusting. It was as bad as I've ever seen in 20 years of renting houses.
I don't know what happened with the holes.
It's as bad as I've ever seen. They did nothing to clean it.
It's kind of comical.
They did nothing to clean it for the 5 years they lived there.
The cleaning and the things that need to be fixed, I felt like the deposit was appropriate.
I've never had to take a student to court. I've taken some of their security deposits, but for the most part, given them back. They treat the house 10 times better than these people did.
Like, ask him to come over and fix things more, so maybe I wasn't loud enough about it.
Never rent to them again and pray for their...
Folks, have a seat.
They are such a great-looking dogs. They're called
French Bulldogs.
French Bulldogs. And you breed them?
Yes, ma'am.
And you breed them?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point, you allowed your male dog to act as stud for his female dog.
Correct.
And your agreement was that in lieu of a stud fee, you would take pick of litter.
Correct.
Was that memorialized in a contract?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it? All right, it's a pretty straightforward agreement. So your dog was artificially inseminated?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that the way it's usually done?
Yes, Your
with
Honor.
French Bulldogs? And how many puppies did she have?
She had 5.
On what date did she have 5?
October 31st, 2015.
And on what date were you notified that she had the puppies? On that date?
Yes, I believe he sent me the pictures immediately. We were very excited about it.
Great. On what date did you exercise your right to pick of litter?
It was 6 weeks from that date that I came to his house on a Saturday.
So sometime in early December?
Yes.
And you looked at all the puppies?
Yes, my daughter and I went to his home in Los Angeles where we stared and studied at the puppies. I actually had him send my partner pictures of the puppies as well.
That's fine. Did you, on that date, and let's call it December 8th, for the purposes since nobody remembers the exact date, on that date, did you select your puppy?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Did you take the puppy home?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it your intention to sell it or to keep it?
Both.
What does that mean?
Bradley was purchasing the puppy from me.
Who was Bradley?
This is Bradley here, the second man in. He was buying the puppy from me based on all the images and things that I had sent him. And we were going to do a mentorship where I teach him how to do what I do with my dogs.
Did you select a male puppy or
I selected a female puppy. So I was going to teach him how to, to do the whole thing, how to do what we do. It's called a mentorship.
Just a second. How much was he paying you, if any, in cash for the puppy?
It was going to be $15,000 for the puppy, plus 1 puppy back from her first litter for my mentorship.
Okay. Now, for some reason, that didn't work out. And so you're suing him for $5,000. And I'm not quite understanding your complaint because I've read this, and what I gather happened was at some point you felt as if you didn't get the right puppy as pick of litter.
No, ma'am.
Well, then you tell me what it was.
The following day, and this is it's close to Christmas, the following day, I asked him to email me the actual proof from the DNA lab, which I do have.
An actual proof from the DNA?
The actual proof from the DNA lab that shows what their DNA is. Their value to have such a high number is based on their DNA.
Well, that may be, but there's nowhere in here that suggests that. The only thing in your contract, and I'm a lay person, in order to ensure that no other male sort of got in there at the same time so that we know who the father and mother are. You're entitled to have testing if you suspect that another dog slipped in. That's what this says. The bitch owner guarantees, because it's under this one paragraph, the bitch owner guarantees that this bitch has not been exposed to any stud dog prior to being bred to this stud, and that she will be protected from such exposure after the breeding has taken place. If any question of parentage should arise, the stud owner reserves the right to request DNA testing of the puppies at the bitch owner's expense. That is clear. That has nothing to do with the DNA lineage. That only has to do with whether somebody else snuck in during that 63-day gestation period that it usually takes. That is because I read your papers, that is my interpretation of your contract, that the only reason to do a DNA test is if you suspect that somebody else snuck in there and that your male was not the father of this litter. We know she's the mother of the litter, but if you question whether he's the father, I assume that your stud, that he was the father, then you're entitled to have that simple test. That's really a simple test. That is the way I interpret this contract. Now, understanding that, I want you to tell me what happened.
Understanding that it is actually our DNA and the breed of what we do is not just parentage
listen to me.
DNA.
I don't care what your understanding is. That's what this contract says. And that's all that I have is this contract. This contract says that if you question the DNA of your male as being the father of this litter, and I assume you have to have some subjective information with regard to that. It's not just whimsical. You're entitled to get a simple DNA test to say, my stud is the father of this litter. And I don't care what else it says in your mind. That's what it says here. Doesn't say anything else here. So, go ahead.
I guess it is a difficult way of explaining what we do with the DNA with these dogs because it is different than parentage. However,
listen to me.
I took my dog. I went to his house. I took my pick of litter. I brought her home. Dino was very upset that I took his pick of litter because that he wanted to keep her. He wanted to keep her for his program.
Fine. So he was
came
upset.
to my house the next day, and I asked him for the proof of all the DNA that he had sent to UC Davis Veterinary Genetics Lab. The scientist is here from that lab who tested the puppies. He had told me all along he had that proof of the puppies and that the 2 puppies we were picking from were AT. There were 2 puppies we were picking between. I brought my puppy home. He wanted her. He came back out to my house to bring the second puppy to see if my buyer would possibly purchase the other puppy instead, because I already had that puppy regardless of DNA. This puppy was at my house and she was sold for $15,000.
Keep going.
Based on the DNA.
Keep going.
When he came to my house and I had just previously had a stroke, was not feeling well, was not doing well, he then all of a sudden didn't have the proof that he told me that he had, and that this dog was all of a sudden not DNA tested, and that he did not provide me the proof. He then took the puppy home.
Keep going.
He then took the puppy home, both puppies home. Leaving me with no puppies.
Now.
Took both the puppies home, and in December 28th, the DNA came in that all of a sudden this puppy was a different DNA than what she was supposed to be.
All I'm asking you is, did the DNA test show that your stud was the father of the litter?
Our agreement is not on
Just a second.
The stud. It's not. Our agreement.
Listen to me. That's what it says.
It says more than that. It says that I am to get my first pick litter, and when he lied to me about the DNA, he then took my puppy. And I did not get my first pick puppy. I got second pick puppy based on the DNA that he provided me.
Let me explain something to you. This is a contract signed by the 2 of you. What I find ridiculous about your entire argument is, it's unfortunate that you weren't feeling well, it's unfortunate that you had other problems, but what you did was you took another puppy and you sold it, according to you, for $10,000.
He actually
Just a second. You got the $10,000.
Yes, ma'am. Under his contract.
That was your agreement.
That wasn't our agreement. Our agreement was first pick. He cheated me out of it by lying about the DNA.
Listen, Miss Subtle, I am totally unsympathetic with you. 100% unsympathetic with you. You're a breeder. You had a contract. If you want to make your contract more specific with regard to pick of litter, as defined by a DNA test that has nothing to do with stud, but has to do with DNA lineage going all the way back for generations, put it in your contract.
My contract also says that he is not allowed to sell any of the puppies with breeding rights.
That's not the subject of this case.
It also is if you look at our actual original paperwork that was filed with the court system. Yes,
I don't care what it's not in my complaint.
Dino Gugliuzza breached their contract regarding the breeding of the French Bulldogs. Dino is countersuing for defamation and libel.
Okay, you may have a problem, but let's examine what you did. Your contract is specific. You got the pick of litter. Then you decided that you wanted a DNA test, not because you suspected a different stud had fathered the litter, but for other reasons, which is not contained in here. Then for whatever reason, he may have said, you know, I'm really attached to that puppy. I like that puppy better. Why don't you take this puppy? I'll take that puppy. I would prefer this puppy. You take that one. I'll find another buyer. For whatever reason, you accepted $10,000 in satisfaction of this contract.
You know better, Dino.
You accepted $10,000. If you didn't want the $10,000, and if you wanted to sue him for the puppy back that you wanted, your pick of litter, you could do that. But you can't cash the check and put the money in your pocket and then say, now I want more. You can't do that. That's not the way the law. That's not the way. That's not the way the law works. That's
3 months later.
No,
Dino
this agreement.
proved it.
This agreement is silent. What I'm telling you, I've read the agreement. The agreement is silent as to your interpretation of what a DNA test was for. You can add it to your contract, and I don't know whose contract this is.
That'll be added because he knows what our verbal agreement was on DNA.
You can't. And let me tell you what a contract is. When you have a written contract, you cannot modify that contract orally, and it has to be modified in the same context as the original contract. That's what the law is. You can't use parole evidence to invalidate a written contract, parole evidence, other evidence, especially since you took 10 grand and pocketed it. And later you come back and say, yeah, but I got fooled, I want more. Anyway, your case is dismissed. We're done.
I have a countersuit, Your Honor.
It's over.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He lied about her DNA so he could get her back.
She's, accusing me of lying about the colored DNA, which is not true.
People spend $50,000 on an animal.
They're fun and...
Seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Tell me your name.
Gabriela Sosa, certified Spanish interpreter. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Ms. Sosa, you are interpreting for Ms. Martinez?
I am.
And you are her husband?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you and your wife were walking on March the 16th of this year.
Yes.
Where were you going?
We was going to a couple blocks away from our house. That's an opportunity for apply for a job for her. So I was walking with her to that store.
To apply for a job?
Yeah. And halfway, it happens, the incident.
Okay. Would you ask her to describe to me what happened?
Descríbame, por favor, lo que sucedió.
Okay, íbamos caminando.
Okay, we were walking
Tiny Street.
down the tiny street.
Cuando de pronto sentí
When suddenly I felt a strong impact
levantó mi pierna.
that lifted my leg up.
Ardor, caliente.
Burning, it was hot.
Me dolía.
And it hurt and it hurt.
Y, ¿qué pasó?
What happened? What happened?
Y volteamos.
And we would turn around.
Y ya cuando vi mi mano,
And when
tenía
I looked at
sangre.
my hand, there was blood on it.
Y en 2 minutos,
And
mi
in
esposo
2
marcó
minutes,
al 911.
my husband called 911.
Llegó la policía.
The police arrived.
Empezaron a checar el área,
They
todo.
began looking in the
mi esposo
area and
les dijo
everything.
que nos dispararon.
And my husband said that we had been shot.
Inmediatamente checaron
And
los
immediately,
departamentos.
they checked the
Y
apartments
sacaron a los 2 chicos.
and took those 2 boys out.
Les recogieron el arma.
They took their weapon away.
Ya de ahí yo me llevaron al
One of the
hospital.
boys,
And they took me to
is this boy here?
¿Es este muchacho aquí?
Yo no lo conozco.
I do not know him.
Ellos estaban en un departamento arriba
They
desde
were in
una
an apartment
ventana.
above shooting from a window.
You didn't see them shooting.
Usted no los vio disparar.
No.
Do you have a police report?
¿Tiene el informe de la policía? Sí.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you understand, Mr. Moore, this is a civil trial.
Yes.
You understand the difference? How old are you?
I'm 19 years old.
Have you been arrested?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Twice.
You were arrested for this incident.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's far more latitude in a civil trial than there is in a criminal trial. The quantum of proof is different. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I want you to also understand that I have a particular aversion when people lie to me. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, I want you to tell me about Mr. Kelly.
What do you want to know about Mr.
Everything about Mr. Kelly.
You have to be a little bit more specific.
I don't have to be
know
any more
everything,
specific than
yes.
that. I want you to tell me everything about Mr. Kelly. How you know him, how long you know him, whether he's a friend of yours. I want you to tell me about Mr.
Kelly is a friend of mine. I've been knowing him for about a year now.
And he's a friend?
Yes, he's a friend.
Is he a liar?
Not from what I know of.
Because you wouldn't hang around with liars, would you?
Right.
Has he been arrested?
Yes, he has.
For what?
For the same thing I was arrested for.
What else?
That's all that I know of.
What else were you arrested for?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? I'm
The
speaking
time
English.
that I was arrested before this?
Yes.
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy to what?
To theft.
Now, are you the girlfriend?
Yes.
Stand. Give me a name.
Ariel?
Do you live with him?
Yes, I do.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
You're 18. And where does your family live?
My family actually lives right down the street in the same city.
Great. And they like that you live with him?
Yeah.
Great. That's terrific. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Does he work?
Yes, he does.
Great. And how many BB guns does he keep in the house?
Just 2.
And you know Mr. Kelly?
Yes, I do.
Were you home with Mr. Kelly and your boyfriend when the police came?
Yes.
Is Mr. Kelly a liar?
No, not what
Mr.
I
Kelly,
know.
not that you know of.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been straight with you, never tried to do
Yeah,
anything?
he's actually a very straightforward person.
Very straightforward person. Nice guy.
Yeah.
Did you ever read the police report in this case? Mom, is a yes or a no? Did you ever read the police report in this case?
No, I didn't.
Well, I'm going to read you the police report in this case, okay? Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
The police officer spoke to Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly said that he and your boyfriend were shooting BB gun rifles from the upper balcony in front of their apartment at the time of the incident. He told me they were taking turns shooting at the television that had a target painted on it. Mr. Kelly, who you say is a really nice, honest guy, said he stated Moore was shooting the BB gun rifle at the time that the victim got shot. Kelly stated she must have been struck by a ricocheted bullet because they never saw her until after the fact, and they were not shooting towards the sidewalk but at another target in the field. Kelly said they got scared when they heard the police coming. They went to their apartment and hid the rifle in the attic. They did not want to answer the doorbell because they were scared of getting into trouble. That's what Mr. Kelly said. Now, do you want to hear what your boyfriend said?
Yes.
Okay. But first, before I let you hear what your boyfriend said, as far as you know, Mr. Kelly does not have any psychiatric disabilities, correct?
No.
Never been hospitalized for delusional behavior?
No, he hasn't.
Is he a drug abuser?
No.
Then I would have to come up with a really good reason why Mr. Kelly would make up this story. This good friend of your boyfriend's, this somebody who you describe as a really good guy, would he make up this story? Because now I'm going to read to you what your boyfriend said to the police about the same day. Are you ready for that? And then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Ariel?
Yes.
Yes, nice. Mr. Moore told me that they have been living there about 2 weeks. He went on to say that he owns 2 BB guns, a rifle with a scope, and a pistol with a silencer. He told me him and shoot at a television that has a target painted on it on the field directly south of the apartment building. On the day of the incident, Moore told me, he had not been shooting the BB gun at all and was not sure how the lady got hit. He told me he hid the BB gun in the attic because he was scared of the police who were knocking at the door. Now, are those two stories the same?
No, they're not.
Well, I can think of a reason why he would tell the police his story, that they weren't shooting the BB guns that day off the balcony. But I can't think of a reason that Kelly would tell the police that they were shooting the BB guns off the balcony. Why don't you try to tell me? I learned something. Tell me why you think Mr. Kelly confessed to the police that they were shooting BB guns off that day.
Well,
and that the reason that they hid the guns because they knew that they would be in trouble.
Well, no, see, the reason why the gun was up in the attic
No,
was
don't tell me the reason why. That's not what I asked you, Ariel.
Okay.
You may get over on your parents with that sweetness, but you're not going to get over on me. I asked you why Mr. Kelly would make up this story.
Well, honestly, I don't know.
I don't know
well
either.
as I do, so for him to lie, I have no idea.
I don't know why. Well, one of them is lie. Just a second.
I had
want
just
you to,
come
do you go
home
to, do you
when
go
the
to
police
school?
had knocked on the door, so I was just
You're
as
trying to
confused.
talk over me. It's my show. So the question is, do you still go to school?
Yes, I do.
Well, stay in school, because this has to do with logic. You see, there is a logic in somebody lying and saying, it wasn't me. It's logical. I could understand why somebody would lie and say, listen, nobody saw me. They didn't really see me. They just found the bullets in front of my door. Right? Right? But I can't think of a reason why somebody would lie and inculpate themselves. Lie and say, yeah, it was me. We were shooting the guns off that day, when it wasn't true. I can't think of a reason.
Yeah,
you know why I can't? You know why I can't think of a reason? Because there is no reason, unless you're a psychotic, unless you're a psycho.
Well, if Kelly was here to represent himself to tell you why, he could tell you, but I can't tell you why.
You can't tell me why, because there's no logical reason.
I don't know him. I don't talk to him like that, so I have no communication with him. I have communication with my boyfriend.
You've never read the police report. That's why you have to stay in school, Ariel. You know, you have to come with something more than a cute smile and papers in front of you. Okay. So police did a search. They've checked the trajectory of the bullet. They've determined that it came from a particular location. You rent the apartment and you were returning home.
Yes.
You allowed the deputies inside and signed a consent to search, right? Because they had found a BB outside.
Yes.
Yes. And they found a large loaded air rifle, scope for the rifle, a carton of BBs from inside the apartment. Further investigation of the area outside the apartment revealed a shattered sliding glass door. How'd that get shattered?
I have no idea.
Did you sign a lease for this apartment?
Yes, I did.
Great. I hope you have a good job, because all the damage that they're doing in the apartment, you're going to have to pay for. Hope you have a really good job.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Wife Blanca Martinez claimed neighbor Christopher Moore shot Blanca in the leg with a BB gun.
Now, how much were her medical bills? How much were her medical bills?
Hasta ahorita son
up until present,
2,600 porque todavía tengo la bala dentro de mi pierna.
because I still have that bullet inside
No
my
me la
leg.
sacaron porque
They
está
didn't
muy
take it out.
profunda.
May I see the
Me
photographs,
podrían
please?
lastimar.
And they could hurt me by doing so.
Fotos. Bills.
Bills? Hospital?
You want the bills, too, Judge?
Report.
Yes.
Mis gastos todavía no terminan porque tengo eso
My
dentro de mi
expenses
pierna.
still have not ended because I still have that thing inside my leg.
Necesito esperar que asome un poquito más a una superficie donde me la
They're
puedan
waiting
quitar.
to see if it can move towards the surface so they can then extract it.
Tengo todo este tiempo con molestias,
This whole
las
time it's been
primeras
hurting.
semanas,
The first
sin poder
weeks I
sentarme,
couldn't sit
sin
down.
hacer ejercicio, sin
I couldn't
caminar.
do exercise or walk.
I have to tell you something. You know, is your name the only one on the lease?
Well, me and, well, actually, yeah, he's actually listed on there as well.
He is too? Did you tell him to get the BB guns out of the house?
Did I tell him to get the BB guns out of the house after the incident?
Yes.
Yes.
Are they out of the house?
Yes. We still have actually not gone and gotten the guns back, actually. So, yeah, they're definitely not in the house.
I would suggest that that's a very good idea to keep them out of the house. You agree?
Yeah.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,600. We're done here.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thousands of people can have a BB gun.
It's just anger.
And thousands of kids on that block made up have a BB gun.
It's not our fault to just go walk by and somebody just decide to shoot you.
I'm being blamed for it and I didn't do it. That's why I don't feel bad now.
Just we don't ask for nothing to get in trouble. We just ask for...
No, it's not going to change me from doing nothing that I want to do.
All parties in the matter of Christian versus Major, step forward.
64-year-old Henry Christian is suing his former live-in girlfriend, 22-year-old Tiffany Major, for wrecking his car when she drove it on a suspended license.
Mr. Christian, what is your relationship to the defendant?
Tiffany Majors is my ex-girlfriend.
Did she live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, sir?
I'm 64 years old.
And how old is Miss Major?
You'd have to ask her, but I believe she's about 24.
How old?
22.
Where did you meet her?
I met her through my son, Lauren.
How?
Well, he introduced me to her sometime about 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Yes, ma'am.
When she was 19?
Yes, she was 19 then.
How long has she been your girlfriend?
For about 6 or 7 months.
Stand up. How did you meet her?
Oh, she's my friend. I met her at a barbecue.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you introducing her to your father.
Oh, we frequented at his house sometimes. We hung out, had barbecues, ate at his house sometimes, and they met each other.
Sit down. Did Miss Major work when she lived with you?
No, ma'am.
What did she do?
She stayed with me basically as my live-in girlfriend.
How was her license suspended?
I have no idea, ma'am.
Did she get a DUI?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
When she was living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
She got a DUI when she was living with you driving your car?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened with that DUI?
You'd have to ask.
Well, no, I'm asking you.
Okay, well, what happened...
Because I'm asking you because she lived with you.
Yes.
She had no source of income.
Right.
So whatever happened with the DUI, you had to pay for.
I paid to get my vehicle out of impound.
You had to pay for the whole thing. Whatever her problem was, Mr. Christian, whatever her problem was, you just told me that Miss Major was your live-in girlfriend,
right.
that she didn't work. That was her job, being your live-in girlfriend.
Yes.
She got a DUI when she was driving your car.
Yes.
You know, 1 and 1 equals 2, which means that if she gets a DUI, she has a fine.
Right.
She has to take classes. She has to pay for those classes. All of those things have to happen. So you would know all about those things because she had no money other than the money that you gave her.
I would have paid for everything, but she didn't request it.
Well, if she didn't request it, then didn't you have any clue that perhaps she wasn't doing what she was supposed to do?
No, she was taking care of herself. She was working. She found a job.
You just told me she wasn't working.
I understand. She found one afterwards. she found a job with a friend of hers walking dogs, and she was paying her own way that way.
Miss Major, was your license suspended after the DUI?
Yes, it was, 30 days after.
Did you discuss that with Mr. Christian?
Yes.
Tell me what that discussion was.
I had went to court and well, no, I didn't go to court yet, but I received a letter in the mail stating 30 days after my DUI, my license would be suspended. I missed the first court date, so I went to the second one. They told me I had to sign up for DUI classes and do work project.
Did you discuss that with Mr. Christian, the person with whom you were living?
Yes.
What did he say?
That we would take care of it, but when I started doing my classes and everything, I had already moved out of the home. So I currently am doing my DUI classes and my work project, and I take care of that.
Who is Miss Major? This case has to do with the fact that after the DUI, you had an accident while driving Mr. Christian's car yet again.
Yes.
And I want to know, Mr. Christian, what was she doing driving your car again?
She did not tell me. We did not discuss that her license were suspended. She was just talking about paying the DUI ticket and going to her work project, but never did she discuss that license were being suspended. Because
Really?
if she's going to take these classes, they were going to allow her to keep them.
Yeah, you mean the letter came to the house where she was living with you that said her license is going to be suspended, and she didn't show that to you?
That's what she says, but she didn't. No letter came. I picked the mail up every day. I never saw a letter.
Not only that, but when I got released from jail, they give me a piece of paper stating that after 30 days, my license is going to be suspended, that I will no longer have a license. When you get a DUI, DMV automatically takes your license, so it's only obvious that I wasn't going to have a license.
On what date was the DUI?
I'm going to say November 14th, but I'm not too positive.
And on what date was the second time that you had some sort of an accident with his car that he's complaining about?
This was February, I believe. February...
Yes, that's correct. February the 21st.
So a couple of months later.
Correct.
What was she doing driving your car?
I gave her permission to...
Why? She'd already had a DUI in your car once, right?
Yes.
Car was impounded?
Yes.
When she had the DUI?
Yes.
Right? She went to jail. She had to come out of jail.
Yes.
She had to go back to court.
Yes.
What was she doing driving your car again?
Because I gave her permission to do so.
Then you pay for the damage.
Listen.
You listen. You listen.
Okay.
You think I believe you that you didn't know she had a suspended license? I don't believe you.
No, I didn't.
And if you're foolish enough to give your 22-year-old girlfriend, after she's had a DUI in your car, permission to drive your car again, and she has another accident, fortunately she didn't kill anybody, that would be your problem. Now you fix it. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye, Mr. Christian.
Seated. Have a seat, please.
All right, Mr. Carr, you bought a used car from the defendant, and looks to me as if you had a little bit of buyer's remorse. You want your deposit back. Mr. Stone has a counterclaim. He said that you slandered him in his business. I'll give him about 30 seconds to tell me about that. When did you buy the car from Mr. Stone?
On May 7, 2015.
Does he have a car lot?
Yes.
And you found a car that you liked. How much was the car?
Altogether, without the financing, probably about
Not about. How much was the car?
$11,000.
Is that correct, Mr. Stone?
The car, Judge, was $10,113.97.
Is that including everything? Tags?
That is not including taxes and tax.
So she said about $11,000. That's pretty close. What year car is this?
2007 Chrysler 300.
Bird, want to do me a favor? Just for my own information, just look up. Did you look up the Blue Book price of the car?
Yes, it came to less than $7,000.
Well, why would you pay $11,000 for a car that's worth...
They told me that they go through a different, instead of like Kelly Blue Book, they go through a different company.
What does that mean?
To be honest, I have no idea, Judge. I specifically asked Gwen.
I can explain what that means if you'd like.
Yeah. You're going to explain to me the difference between $7,000 and $11,000. I know the difference between $7,000 and $11,000.
I was going to explain to you the question that you asked, what does that mean? Regarding the
I know exactly what it means.
Regarding the value of the car.
I know what value means. I know what you could buy it for. If you can buy it for $7,000 and you pay $11,000, that means you're an idiot.
I don't need to explain that then, right?
What?
Go ahead.
Right. All right. Okay. How much was the sticker price on the car?
$68.24.
$68.24?
And 68 cents.
Okay. Then could you tell me why you paid $10,000 for it?
Because of the financing.
Okay. So you actually paid $7,000 for it. Altogether at the end, when you finished all the financing, it was going to cost you $10,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you mean. But you actually only paid what the Blue Book value was for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is this the first car you ever bought?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money had you saved up?
I saved up $1,500.
What kind of work do you do?
A line cook.
Where?
At the time, I was working at a restaurant/bar. It's called Ashburner Inn.
And what do you do now?
Unemployed because I'm pregnant. I'm 7 months pregnant, Judge.
When did you stop working?
About less than a month ago.
And you bought this car on what date?
On May 7th, 2015.
So it was a short time after you probably found out that you were pregnant because you stopped working sometime in June.
Yes.
When did you return the car to him?
I turned the car to him on June 8th.
So you drove the car for a month?
Yes, ma'am.
You had trouble with the car at the beginning?
Yes, ma'am.
And he fixed it?
Yes.
So that was nice of him?
Yes.
Because he doesn't have to do that?
Right.
And then what happened?
I made my first payment on May 30th.
In what amount?
Of $211.33.
Go ahead.
A week later, on June 5th, I received a phone call from the First Finance Bank telling me that Howard forgot to sign the one part of the contract, so I had to go back to the dealer to get that contract re-signed. I told them, okay, do I have to sign that one piece of paper or do I have to sign that whole contract over? The lady told me that we don't do that, you have to sign the whole contract over. The next day, Howard called me, asked me, when can I come to go and finish signing his contract? I told him, I'm doing something right now, I'll be down when I can. He said, okay. I came in there.
Which day?
On Friday, June 6th.
Okay.
I went in there. He told me right away that the First Finance Bank company declined me. I asked why. He told me that I would have to come back within a year.
Because you had no job.
No, that's not
Well, but at that time you had no job, right?
Right.
Okay, well, that's a good reason for a finance company not to want to lend you $7,000 if you have no job.
But, Judge, that's not the reason why they dropped me.
Well, let me tell you, if I'm in the business of loaning money to somebody and they don't have any way of paying me back, and if I'm in the business of loaning money and not losing money, what I do is I decline to give them the loan.
Right.
Because at the time that you bought this car, you had a job.
Right.
And then if the finance company called your place of employment, they would say, yeah, she works here. But in June, if they called, they would say, she didn't work here.
Right.
She quit because she was pregnant.
Right. Right. Well, the reason why...
See the way case changes? Case changes. Every...
the reason why they dropped me, ma'am, it was because the finance company thought they forged my signature.
Let me tell you something. Whatever they thought, I don't know what the finance company thought. If they were using their thinking caps, they would say, I'm not paying any money because she bought a car for $7,000. She put down $1,500. We're never going to see a penny of our money because the next thing she did was quit her job. Are you feeling sick?
No.
Then what'd you quit your job for?
I didn't quit my job.
You got fired?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's a different story. So when they called up to verify your employment, they said, we fired her.
Yes.
Look, Mr. Stone,
Yes,
right now, you have the car back.
I do.
Did she sign the title back to you?
The title is actually in process of getting switched back into my name, which is a cost for me as well.
She wouldn't sign the title back to you?
She didn't have the title. When you transfer the title, it goes right to the state, and then it's sent
Okay.
back. It's sent to the financial institution.
So
that's
that's
holding
going to cost you how much money?
It's around $80 to fix the title.
Okay. And she drove the car for a month?
A little over a month.
No, that's wrong, Your Honor.
Yeah, you told me. You drove the car from May 7th. You returned it June 8th. That's what you just told me. I wrote it down. You said you bought it on May 7th, and you brought it back on June 8th. That's a month. You should learn how to count your months. So you drove the car for a month. Now you have the car back, and you had a little grief. Okay? How much money did she give you?
Danielle gave me a $1,000 deposit on the day that she bought the car on the 7th. She then was short money, $254.
How much did she give you?
Total,
How much did she give you?
$1,000.
In total, she gave you $1,000.
At that time when she took purchase of the car.
I'm talking about...
$1,254, Your Honor.
No, that's wrong, Your Honor.
How much money did you give him?
$1,500.
Show me.
It's not true. I have receipts and everything here from...
Listen to me, Mr. Caro. You say in your complaint, listen to me carefully, in your sworn complaint that you gave him $1,254. That's what you... Shh, just a second. That's what she says in her complaint.
You're right, I did. And the reason $1,000 was for my down payment, $254 was because we did a promissory note because
he says you gave him $254.
Right.
So I'm asking you, how much money did you give him?
$1,254.
Right. And what happened is, I mean, I don't know.
I can tell you what happened.
You drove up to his place. You took off the plates. Did you take off the plates on the car?
Yes, my fiance did.
And you left the car with him?
Yes, because I was blocked in. And I have pictures to prove it, too.
Well, so far you had no financing.
Because the car was legally not mine. I got denied by 2 banks.
That's not true. She did not get denied by 2 banks.
Right now you have the car back, you're going to sell it, right?
Hopefully.
Well, hopefully you're going to sell it. You sold it to her.
Judge car dealer Howard Stone owes for the return of money she paid for a car. Howard is countersuing for loss of business due to slander.
Now, it's going to cost her $600 for this whole kerfuffle. But you're going to give her back $600 because you're having the car turned to your name, correct? Isn't that what you told me? For $80, the car is being transferred back into your name? You've already started that process. So you say you've already started that process.
I haven't started
which is
anything.
A pain in the, well, that's what you told me. You said I've already started the process of getting a car. Listen, wifey said, wifey is saying yes and you're saying no. You have to sort of coordinate your story. The
process is started.
Right, the process has started. That's what she says. So I'm giving you $600 for your trouble over the last month. You only get $600 back. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to be responsible. You don't buy a car for $10,000 and the next day quit your job or do something to get fired from your job. And then if you don't have a job, the answer is if you don't have a job or if you've done something irresponsible, the answer is not getting pregnant. That is not the answer to everybody's problems. Judgment.
You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Ms. Murphy, it is your claim that a tree from the defendant's property caused damage to your driveway, and you want them to be responsible for repairing the driveway, which is going to cost you $3,500. When, Mr. Ferrin, did you and your family move into your home? In what year?
2008.
And how long have you lived there?
Since 2001.
And how long has the offending tree been there?
The tree was there when I moved in.
It's been there for at least 15 years.
Probably so.
And was it a large tree?
I didn't notice the tree, the size of the tree, but it was there. As you know, my property had to be inspected before I purchased it, and there was no damage there.
To the driveway?
There was no damage to the driveway.
To the driveway, and that was in 2001?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have photographs of the damage to the driveway?
Yes, I do have some photographs.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Take those up. In Your Honor, I have a piece of the driveway here so that you can see how thick it is.
Do you have a picture of the tree?
We have a picture of the tree.
I'd like to see a picture of the tree, where it was.
Do you want the pictures of us removing it?
I can take a look at you removing it. I want to see where it is in relation to the cracks in the driveway.
That's the tree, and the rest is removing it.
In what month and year did you notify the defendants that the tree that was on their property, the roots, were causing trouble to your driveway?
Between 2013 and 14, I mentioned to Mr. Ferran that the roots of the tree was beginning to damage my property.
Do you remember that conversation, Mr. Ferran?
I do.
Tell me about that conversation.
It was December 26, 2014, and we had a conversation. She said that the tree is causing damage to her driveway, and I told her that, you know, we'll remove the tree because we have to remove the tree anyway. It's grown into our septic system, so we want to remove that tree so it doesn't continue to damage our septic system.
So it was just a few months ago that you first mentioned it to him. In December of 2014. Is that when the driveway started to buckle?
No, it was after the driveway started to buckle that I mentioned to him that you can see what is happening to my property. And, of course, he said to me that what happens on your property, you're responsible, and what happens on my property, since your limbs are growing on my property, I'm responsible.
You said the same thing, Mr. Ferrin, in your answer, but you actually have the ability, if the plaintiff's tree is coming over onto your property and causing damage to your property, you have the right to cut down those offending branches. You understand that?
I do, but I contacted my insurance.
We actually, that's why we feel she should be responsible to cut the roots if they're on her side of the property.
Right, it seems like once it grows over there, but, you know, that she can take care of stuff that grows over on her property.
No, because she doesn't have the ability, actually. If the roots were cut, the tree would die.
Your Honor?
Yes.
We also feel, we've got some pictures of our cul-de-sac, other driveways. There's cracks from the street going up into her driveway. The homes are very old and they sit on a slope. So we feel that there's been cracks for many, many years that have been possibly been there before the tree did.
Ultimately, our main part of our defense is that that tree is a very old tree, and that's been damaging that driveway a lot longer than we've lived on the property.
And we feel that when we came into a financial situation where we could afford to do it, is when she decided to ask us to fix the driveway.
No, within a relatively short period of time of being notified, you took down the tree.
Right.
Your Honor.
Yes.
May I say this?
Yeah.
That when he cut the tree, it did not remove the damage, and plus, since he knew that his septic tank was being affected, that meant the roots were coming into where his septic tank was located, and that was going to be a very dangerous situation because it would cost quite a bit of money to repair a septic tank where the roots have caused a problem. So
Ms. Murphy, this is my point to you. My point to you is you put him on notice.
Yes.
December of 2014, that unless he removed the offending tree, you were going to hold him responsible. He responded to that by taking down the tree.
But he did not grind the roots under the tree. I watched the workers do the job of cutting his tree down, and they never grind the roots from that tree, which meant that those roots could continue to make damage to my property.
Just a second. We don't even know whether that's true, that the roots of his tree caused the damage to your driveway. Unless you have an expert here, which you don't. I assume you're not a tree expert?
No, ma'am.
Right. Because this kind of damage to your driveway didn't happen overnight. It happened over a course of years.
Estimates that I got were from people who looked at the damage, and they concluded that they were going to have to remove the roots in the pavement.
They may have to.
Yeah.
They may have to. The issue is he responsible for that? You put him on notice that there was an offending condition. They removed the offending condition. They removed the tree. In what month did you remove the tree?
April 8th.
Within a couple of months of you notifying them, they removed the tree.
But removing the tree did not do anything to the damage that had already been made by the tree. The roots of their tree had caused the damage to my property, and that case law states that whenever your roots in Texas invade the property of another person, you are liable for those roots that come into the other property, because that person has an absolute right to enjoy their property without having the damage that had occurred on my property.
Do you agree with Ms. Murphy that the roots of your tree were the cause of the disruption in her driveway?
I can't make that determination because I'm not an arborist. I don't know. I mean, I do know that...
We believe there's cracks from age, just in general, throughout the whole cul-de-sac, so that there was most likely cracks way before the tree even started to.
But regardless, I think
on her
it's
property.
Even if, let's say that it was.
No, I don't want to say that it is.
Okay.
All I want to ask you is, she's not an arborist, nor is she a contractor.
Right.
And I've looked at the photographs of the surrounding concrete in the area, and there are cracks. Where is this? Ms. Murphy, would you show this to Ms. Murphy?
This is a part of where the cracks were.
That's actually across the street from our house.
That's not your driveway.
This doesn't even look like my driveway.
No, that's
It's not. It's across the street from us.
It's somebody else's driveway.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're saying. You want to take a look at this?
That's her sidewalk.
In front of her house, yes.
This is the walkway into my house.
Not near the tree.
Driveway. Not the tree or the driveway.
And that's cracked.
No, that's the partition between the cement on my walk, where it was into parts.
Coach's house.
That's the house across the street.
Now, this looks like some of the cracks that are in my driveway here, but I'm not sure. But it looks like some of the cracks that are in the driveway.
Where is that?
The house across the street from her.
That's the house across the street. And has the same kind of cracks.
Why would they have evidence of that?
Well, for this reason, Ms. Murphy. Because it is possible that the roots of their tree caused damage to your driveway.
Yes, it did.
It's possible.
It's possible.
But this is not your house, and it has the same kind of damage.
But not to the point where those people in that neighborhood do not have problems where they are not parking into those driveways, because as you can see, that you do not have the eruption that has taken place that cracks up like this in their driveway.
Do you understand what I said? I said, your neighbor across the street has the same cracks in their driveway that you do.
I don't even know whether that's the neighbor across the street.
That's what they took the photographs.
May I see that picture?
Absolutely.
Because that's not the driveway of the neighbor across the street from me.
It's Coach Davis's driveway.
Would you show this to the plaintiff, please?
The only way for me to recognize this is to see the house that is located across the street from me to know whether that would be that person's driveway, and they did not do that. They did not give you a picture of that house across the street. That is a beautiful house that's well kept.
It's a red brick house. Is that the red brick house? There's a red, the house is there. It's a red brick house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Neighbors Horatio and Heather Farron owe for damage to her driveway caused by a tree in their yard. The defendants claim Harriet can't prove it was their tree that caused the damage.
Now, what I'm suggesting to you is this is not a picture of your driveway. This is in your neighborhood.
No.
And there are cracks in this driveway similar to the ones that are in your driveway.
But, Your Honor, the fact that those roots were causing property to his septic tank, which he has already testified to, it is absolute that those were the roots from that same tree that was causing the property to my driveway.
How do I know that?
Well, I was standing where the tree was, and that was right on the edge of the line of my property. I think you have a picture of that.
I do.
I'm standing where the tree was located, and it was right on the very line of my property.
And it was there when you moved in?
It was not there in 2001.
The tree was there. You told me that the tree was there.
But the damage had not occurred at that time.
Okay.
And in fact, I have an email from him in which he said that I even moved in after him. And I have proof of that, and that damage was there at that time. So I don't understand.
I don't understand either.
I can show you the evidence of the email in which he said
he testified before me today that he and his wife moved in 2008. You testified that you moved into your house in 2001.
I could have been mistaken about when.
And in that email, he said that I moved in after him and that the damage was there when he moved in.
I've been in and
there
around
since
that
we've
house for a long time, so you know.
I don't think you've proved your case, Ms. Murphy. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
And you may be seated.
A year and a half ago, Mr. Barron, you were involved in an accident with Ms. Tyler, which you claim was solely her fault.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume both cars were substantially damaged. Unfortunately, the insurance company determined that each of you was at fault 50%, and you only got 50% of your car fixed.
Yes, sir.
In addition, you were injured, and you didn't have any medical coverage, I assume, at the time of the accident. Is that also correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Tyler says, well, the insurance company determined that 50% of the responsibility for the accident was yours, and it's not her fault that you don't have appropriate insurance. She did. Is that your defense?
Yes.
Well, and Ms. Tyler, let me start with you. This incident happened over a year ago, May 24th, 2014. Tell me where you were going and what time the accident happened.
I was going down SoCal Avenue to make a right turn onto 17th. It was approximately 4:30 p.m., and I was merging...
Why don't you go over there and show me your route? Pronounce the name of that street.
SoCal Avenue?
SoCal Avenue. Show me where you were. From the beginning, you're the blue car.
Yes.
So you were in a lane.
Yes.
Show me where you were.
Driving down, merged into this lane later. I don't believe I merged here. I believe I merged closer to the driveway entrance here.
So
I was probably merging in right here.
At the time the plaintiff's car, who was making a left turn, hit your car, it looks to me as if you were straddling the white line. That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And the people who were making a right turn were in which lane?
Where I was.
No, you weren't in the right lane.
No, the right lane begins up there, right?
Right. So
it was the bike lane, which is where these cars are parked.
So those are parked cars?
Yes.
So the cars that are to the right of you are parked, not moving?
Yes.
I see. So you couldn't make your right-hand turn. You had to go around those cars?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, but I believe that I merged Like, I don't believe that I could fit in between this lane of cars and this lane of parked cars. So I believe I merged into this lane.
Further up.
Further up. And
Okay.
he hit me directly in the middle of the driveway of the dispensary he was turning into.
Because that's where he was turning in.
Right.
Okay.
But I was legally within 200 feet of the intersection, so I was legally allowed to be merging into that lane to make a right-hand turn.
Okay. And clearly, Mr. Barron.
Yes, ma'am.
You're making a left-hand turn, so it's your responsibility to look to see whether the coast is clear.
Absolutely. Except that that's not a lane. There's only one oncoming lane. They were letting me make the turn. She squeezed into something that wasn't a lane. I have not only photo, but I also brought video evidence. And the photos will show that how far off the line she was. She left a skid mark.
I would like to see that, and I would love to see the video.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is you cleared the oncoming traffic because the oncoming traffic gave you plenty of time to make your left turn.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
And
that since she was illegally going around the other cars, you did not anticipate her being there.
Not only that, Your Honor, but at the speed she was going, which you can see on the video, it doesn't even appear that she stopped.
I'd love to see it. I'm looking at the pictures. Officer Byrd, this is your car or hers?
That is my car, Your Honor.
Well, that's a pretty banged-up looking car. You have any pictures of you being banged up?
No, I was the one holding the camera, Your Honor.
Okay. Miss Tyler.
Yes.
This is the lane that you were coming down.
Yes.
And this is where you wanted to make a right turn, somewhere down here.
Yes.
So these were parked cars. There were no cars in front of you here, correct?
Right.
So what you did was you came out of where you were and went around here to keep going straight in order to make a right turn. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I was merging into the right turning lane.
Right turn lane, but there were parked cars there, and then it looks as if there's a specific turn for right turn lanes.
Yes.
Up here.
Yes.
Right? And in the middle here is a bike lane, but that's not back here. That's not where the accident was.
I do have photos that show that it is a bike lane, in fact, before that.
Well, it doesn't show it in this photograph. You mean this photograph was doctored?
Oh, no, further up the road.
Further up the road, there is an all-bike lane.
Yes.
But this is not where the accident
But
happened.
behind that also, this is behind that. The bike lane ends and then goes into the middle of the road further up at the intersection.
Well, it may be, but this is not where the accident happened. Where the accident happened was not a bike lane. This is where the accident happened. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. You can tell by the skid marks.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. I'd like to see the video.
So you can see...
Why don't you go up there and...
Absolutely, Your Honor. So it's from two different angles of the building. And this can actually see the impact. On the other video, you can see how she doesn't even appear to stop or hit the brakes as she just flies through there. On the police report, the CHP officer determined she was at fault not only because she wasn't driving in a lane, but also because of the speed she was going.
I'd like to see the police report.
Yes, ma'am.
CHP officer was on the motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
VC section violated 22350. Did you get a ticket?
No.
Did you get a ticket?
Yeah, for window tinting.
For window tinting?
Yes, ma'am. I guess the shade of tinting on my car windows aren't legal, but the officer still said that had nothing to do with the accident.
Don't tell me what the officer said. Okay, so in substance, the police officer found that you were going too fast and that when traffic is stopped, and there was stopped traffic because he says that a truck stopped in the moving lane. Is that right?
According to me and the video, Your Honor.
Just a second. I'm going to play the video again. I want to take a look at the truck.
No problem.
Bird, would you play that video again for me? I don't see the truck.
The truck is, once the video replays, now the truck is this truck right here. That's the car that's making me, you can see that traffic opens
So
up.
it's not an 18-wheeler truck.
No, it's not an 18, but it is tall enough that she couldn't have seen around it or the car behind it when going into the lane, Your Honor.
And you couldn't have either.
True, but it wasn't...
Just a second. Back here. And you couldn't have either, which is why I wanted to see the truck. If it was big enough, you see, you say a little too much, it's not a good thing, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because despite the fact that the police officer said that she was going too fast, which she may have been, I was always taught that when you're making a left-hand turn and you don't have a light, there is no light there, you have to be able to feel comfortable that you have clearance in order to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, according to what you said to the police officer, a truck had stopped in order to let you go.
Yes, ma'am.
But when you made your left turn, your view was partially obstructed by the truck, just as hers was.
But that...
But you're making the left turn. She has a totally clear path to the right.
It's not a lane, Your Honor.
She had a... Oh, yes. She had a totally clear path to the right because that's where she was going to make her right turn. Problem was there were a whole bunch of parked cars over there. It was all stopped, but she had, in her mind, she had a free lane to go to make her right turn.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're making the left turn. Now I would like to see what the insurance companies had to say. Can I see?
I don't have the litigation.
Well, you must have gotten a letter from them that said we find that you're 50% responsible.
I didn't, actually. They told me over the phone, Your Honor.
I have a copy of it if you
May I see it, please? Well, that's what it says. It says they find each of you responsible because they said the supplied evidence and contention show that Western was 50% negligent for making an unsafe turn, and Ameriprise, that's you, was negligent for improper lane use. The police faulted Ameriprise, that's you, though Western had the greater duty of care as the turning vehicle. Well, that's what I said.
Yes, Your Honor.
And her insurance cites the bicycle lane statute that though the curb may incorporate a bike lane, it is clearly not exclusively a bicycle lane, as it appears primarily to be a parking lane. I absolutely agree with them. I think you have a duty of care when you're making a left turn. And that duty of care is when there is no light, you have an obligation to ensure that that lane is totally clear when you turn. And because the truck gave you license to go doesn't mean that going around the truck and trying to take a look going slowly, going around the truck, and you weren't going slowly, may have been impeded by your dark-tinted windows in the front. I don't know.
Judge Judy continues. Fellow motorist Lacey Tyler broke the law when she ran into him on the road. Lacey says it was Heath who broke the law when he made a left turn in front of her.
Now, I think that you're 50% responsible, so you take care of your own 50%. Did you take care of 50%?
Yes.
Did you fix your car?
Yes. Well, I got a new car. It was
total
loss, yeah.
It was total. What about your car?
Got it back after 2 weeks.
Okay. So you had your car fixed?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have collision?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was your deductible?
I haven't paid it yet because they've been waiting for their insurance company to take responsibility, so it's been in this limbo.
Well, so who paid for it?
It hasn't been paid yet, Your Honor.
Do you have your car back?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how did somebody give you your car back without paying for it?
Based on the police report and all the other evidence that there was, they let me take it.
Good. You give me... What's the name of your insurance company?
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dogwillow versus Niemeyer. Step forward, please.
Matthew Dogwillow is suing motorist 22-year-old Dontre Niemeyer and his mother Lucinda. Matthew Dontre hit his parked car and fled the scene.
Mr. Dogwillow, it is your claim that the defendant, this gentleman, hit your parked car, causing substantial damage. The car is titled in his mother's name. What's your first name?
Dontre.
Dontre has a whole different story that he's going to weave for me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
No, not yet.
Basically.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
And we don't use any filler words. Basically is a filler word like. Like is a filler word.
Okay.
Like and basically. If you eliminate them, we'd get business done in this world a lot faster. Okay, so we're going to start with Mr. Dogwillow. On what date did this accident happen, sir?
On 7/29.
What time?
7:27 in the morning.
Now, you know that specifically because you must have a police report.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
I have two. One is the original one that I got, and then one is after the police had an opportunity to follow up with the vehicle owner.
And you did not witness this yourself, is that right?
No.
But I gather you did.
Yep.
Are you his neighbor?
Yes.
Stand up, please. Tell me your last name.
Pineda Yunus.
Can you show me where you live in that diagram?
Yep, right here in this building.
Okay. And this was at 7:30 on the morning of the 29th of July?
Yeah, I remember recalling that it was just the morning I was leaving my house for the day.
Tell me what you observed.
So I was in the back of my house right here near the alley, and pretty much my backyard overlooks where the accident occurred. And I mean, there was a line of cars right here that were building up just traffic because of the light on the corner. And I mean, basically, I just saw
No,
gold.
basically.
There was a gold SUV that was speeding down, and in order to avoid the line of traffic, swerved to the right, and I saw him hit the truck.
Now, this gold SUV, is that what you have, a gold SUV?
Yes, ma'am.
And your son was driving the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
that day? With your permission?
Yes, ma'am.
Where was he going, or where was he coming from?
He was getting off for work, and he was dropping his girlfriend off, and apparently he was on his way home at the time of the incident.
Does his girlfriend work with him?
No, she works downtown, ma'am, at a different location than where he had got off of work.
So he went and picked her up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The red car, the P car, is the plaintiff's car.
Correct.
Did you see the defendant stop his car?
No.
Could you step back here? Could you tell me what you saw after he hit the car?
It was pretty much like a game of bumper cars. Like, he just hit it, you know, his tires started screeching, and he just drove right off in front. There was basically like a parking lane right in front of the truck for more parking that was empty, and that's where he drove off.
Were you able to take down the license plate?
I was not.
But I assume somebody else did.
Correct.
Somebody else in this police report. Okay, so here's your problem. There was a witness who got your license plate. And then the police contacted your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what your mother said to them?
No, I do not.
They contacted the owner of the car, license plate number 6. She stated that the vehicle did not have insurance, that it had lapsed on June 30th, and that her son used the car without her permission or knowledge. That's what your mother said to the police.
Yes, ma'am.
But that wasn't true, because he had your permission. That's
Yes,
what you
ma'am.
just told me.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see photographs of your cars?
Sure. So there's three, or there's, yeah, here's the three main ones, and then there's a fourth one there too. You can see how the wheel is just blown up, and the whole back end is damaged, and it even like swung the car. There should be one view where it swung the car into the curb, and it actually caused the wheel and the axle to kind of be out of place, and then obviously the whole back of it, and the light and everything.
Okay.
Now, before you start with the story that you're going to tell me, I can be brutal. You know that.
Yes, ma'am.
I read your answer.
Yes, ma'am. On July 29th, he said
Did you have permission to drive the car from your mother?
She was in the hospital, ma'am.
That's not what I asked you. Did you have permission to drive the car from your mother?
No, ma'am.
Had you driven the car to work before?
Yes, ma'am.
So that you had prior permission to drive the car?
Prior permission, yes, ma'am.
So that you just lied to me when you said you didn't have permission. You had permission to drive the car.
I just got off of work.
Am I boring you?
No, you're not boring me, Judge Judy. I'm sorry. I had permission to go to work. I did not have permission to drop my girlfriend off. I got off of work and I dropped my girlfriend off, and I was going back home.
So you had your mother's permission to drive
to work.
An uninsured car?
To work only.
I don't care if you were driving it to an emergency room. You don't drive an uninsured car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if you were driving the car to work, I assume you work every day.
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you pay for the insurance?
I had prior bills and rent and all that stuff I had to do, so I couldn't pay her insurance at that moment.
Well, but you were using the car every day.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of prior bills did you have?
I live on my own. I had to pay rent. I have kids.
Just a second. So you don't live at your mother's house?
No, I was driving back there.
Just a second. So you don't live at your mother's house?
No, I do not.
Put your hand down. How long haven't you lived in your mother's house?
I moved out about a week or two after that.
Whatever you say, you're trying to anticipate where I'm going with my questions. You're not smart enough. Because you were dumb enough to write the answer that you wrote, and you're dumb enough to repeat it to me now. So don't try to anticipate where I'm going with my questions. Okay, so now you want to repeat it, or you want to say, I bumped into his car because I was trying to cut the line?
I wasn't trying to cut the line or nothing. He was pulling off. That's the whole thing. He was
in the car?
Yes, he was.
And pulling out
Yes,
of the
he
car.
was pulling.
Was anyone in the car when he hit it?
No.
They're lying, Your Honor.
What did you do after you saw him hit the car?
I mean, after I saw, there was just, a really loud noise, like a big crash. I went to the sidewalk. A couple cars that were right around the vicinity also like pulled over, and they came out and we all talked. One of the witnesses was the one who managed to write down the license plate, and in like 10, 15 minutes the cops finally arrived, and they were the ones who took the report.
Who told the plaintiff that his car had been hit?
Well, that was the woman that lived across the street from me, and then also the woman who lived kitty corner.
Did they call you, or did they come to your house?
No, she had actually left a note on my car. So when I first found out about it, I was just getting back from a walk with my dog. So she left, you can feel free to tear it off. She left this little handwritten note, and then that was the police, little note to how to follow up on it.
A lying, Your Honor.
Was the truck salvageable?
Yeah, the truck was worth about $12,000. And I got two estimates, one for $5,400 and one for around $7,200, or $5,329 and $7,225. So, obviously I sued for the lesser amount just to make the truck whole again.
Where's the SUV?
The SUV, ma'am, is parked in my garage, damaged.
Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $5,000. Thanks very much. That's all.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Monroe Day versus Mitchell. Step forward.
Kendallyn Monroe Day is suing her former friend, Dia Mitchell, for an unpaid loan to buy a home. Dia claims the money was given to her so she could move out of Kendallyn's home.
Miss Day, who is this?
This is my husband.
Stand up. Now, this is about a loan that you allege that you made to the defendant. She says gift. That's what the case is. So I'm going to ask you some questions, Mr. Day. It's going to help me make a decision about this whole case. You got it?
Yeah.
How did you meet Miss Mitchell?
Through a friend of mine.
Tell me how that came about. Your friend's name was who?
Jimmy.
And what was Miss Mitchell's relationship with Jimmy?
It was his girlfriend.
And how long ago was that?
A couple years ago. I've known her for 5 years.
Was she Jeremy's girlfriend for the whole 5 years?
No, for about 3 years she was his girlfriend.
And was that 3 years before she went to jail?
Yes, it is.
And what did you go to jail for?
Felony non-sufficient funds on my bank account and car theft for driving the vehicle off the lot because my check bounced.
So you wrote a bad check?
Not intentionally, but yes, I did.
You wrote a bad check. And you went to jail for a year?
16 months.
And when you got out of jail, Miss Mitchell, where did you go?
I went to Doug and Candy's house.
Who invited you?
Both of them.
Is that right?
Yes.
How did that come about, Mr. Day? Who did Miss Mitchell contact?
I went to visit her in jail.
Who went to visit her?
I did, Doug.
Well, just a second. Did you go with your wife or did you go alone?
With her boyfriend.
And her boyfriend then was whom?
Jimmy.
So you went with Jimmy to see her. Now, when she came out of jail, why didn't she go live with Jimmy?
Because they were no longer together.
So they broke up when she was in jail?
Yeah.
Did you ever visit her without Jimmy?
No.
How many times did you go and visit her?
2 or 3 times.
Why?
Because I was a friend of hers.
How'd you feel about that? How did you feel about that, Mrs. Day?
I was kind of reserved and understanding at that time.
What did you respond when your husband wanted to invite Miss Mitchell to live with you for a while she got on her feet when she got out of jail in January?
I'm understanding, and we did talk about it, and we discussed it in length while she was incarcerated, and we decided that it would be in her best interest for her probation to live with us until she got back on her feet.
So you invited her into your home?
Right.
And what happened when she came into your home that made you uncomfortable?
She was making flirtatious remarks with my husband.
Did you discuss that with him?
Yeah, and it made me uncomfortable.
So your wife discussed with you that she wasn't comfortable with what was transpiring between you and Miss Mitchell. Did you ask Miss Mitchell to leave?
No, she left on her own.
She left on her own, but she needed money.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me about the money, Mr. Day.
She had an opportunity to buy a house, and she asked to borrow money from us, so I talked to my wife. My wife said, okay, we'll loan her $50 to get her out of the house, get her property. And so we did, just to get her out of the house.
Now, Miss Mitchell, there is no question that Mrs. Day gave you $1,500. And you acknowledge that that money passed from her hand to you.
I do.
$1,500. Now you're going to tell me what the circumstances were of that $1,500.
Okay, I was working 2 jobs, saving up for this place that I wanted to buy. I had $1,500 saved up. She got tired of me being in her home, and frankly, I was tired of being in her home as well. It stank. There was dogs everywhere. The place was nasty, and I was tired of bringing my children there. And she basically just gave me the money and told me, go. It's a parting gift.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,500. Thank you very much. Bit your dog and your son.
Yes.
Defendant says, well, she doesn't deny that her dog bit your son and your dog, but she said it's not her fault. She said her house on the day of the incident was burglarized, and the burglar left the door open, and her dog got out. So we'll get to that in a minute. Now, you weren't there when this happened.
Correct.
You were. Why don't you stand up next to your mom? Tell me your first name.
Donovan.
Donovan, what kind of a dog do you have?
Australian Shepherd Lab mix.
A boy or a girl?
Girl.
How much does she weigh?
It's about 50 pounds.
Okay, you were walking the dog on a leash.
Yes.
Tell me the date.
June, I think 16th.
Of last year?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what happened.
I went to the bus stop to wait for my friends, and Cassie's pit bull came over, and they were sniffing each other, and then her dog jumped on my dog, latched on, and started thrashing back and forth.
Did you know Miss Henny's dog from before?
No, I did not know
Did
her.
you know her?
No.
Because you called her by name. You'd not met her before the 16th of June?
No.
And you had never seen her dog before?
No.
Okay. And how did your hand get injured?
I was trying to break up the fight between her dog and my dog.
And so you were bitten by either one. Did you know which dog bit you?
Most likely the pit bull, because the pit bull looked like it released for a second and then bit back onto my dog.
How did you find out that the dog belonged to Miss Henny?
Later on, after someone said whose dog it was.
Did you, at that point, you were involved because he must have come home, called you, whatever. Did you take him to be treated first or the dog?
Initially, the dog. What happened was, because it was at the school bus stop, all the parents were there waiting for their kids to get off the bus, and the bus actually couldn't let the kids off because of it, and multiple parents were trying to get the pit bull.
Well, you can't tell me because you weren't there.
Okay. And so the police and animal control actually were called. And when he came home, I assessed his hand. He was okay. My dog was not okay. So I took my dog immediately to the vet, dropped the dog off there where they said they were going to have to do surgery, and then came home and brought him to the hospital.
And what were your vet bills?
The vet bills, because she's had 3 different surgeries, the total came to $3,204.23.
What about the medical bills for your son?
Because of his health insurance, he didn't have any outstanding medical bills.
Great. Okay. Now, Miss Henny, how long have you had your dog?
2 years.
Where did you get the dog from?
I rescued him. My daughter and I rescued him.
So you got him from a rescue?
Yes, we adopted him.
How old was he when you rescued him?
3.
And in the 2 years that you've had him, how many complaints have been filed about him?
There was one before where he did get into a dog fight where I was walking him because my neighbor's dog jumped the fence, and they ended up getting into a dog fight, which he was quarantined, and that was taken care of.
How?
As in, the neighbor and I talked, and they said, you know, our dog did jump the fence and did go after yours, so it was pretty much a handshake. No one got hurt. We were happy with that.
Yes.
I beg to differ, because I have a report from animal control saying that there's actually been 3 different...
May I see it, please?
And
just a second. Is the person you're referring to Denise?
Mm-hmm.
You know who Catherine is?
I've never heard of that person.
Okay. Now, when your dog and your neighbor's dog got into this altercation, your neighbor's dog is a smaller dog.
No, it was it's a mix of a...
Well, according to the police report, it's a smaller dog than your dog.
But it wasn't. It's a German Shepherd Rottweiler mix. That dog is clearly, it's Max. Should be listed on there.
Well, maybe that's another incident.
They do have 2 dogs.
Reports that there is a pit bull mauling her neighbor's small dog.
They do have 2 dogs.
Well, that's what it was reported, that your dog was mauling their small dog. Now, she says she let the small dog out to relieve itself, and the 2 dogs got together. Were you there?
No.
So that means your dog was out.
Your Honor, I was there for that.
Let's hear it. Your last name is?
Barr, B-A-R-R.
Go ahead.
The one they're referring to is...
I'm asking you whether your dog was out on the street.
No, he was not, ma'am.
Where was he?
I let him out to use the bathroom.
Where?
The backyard.
Is it fenced?
No, ma'am.
Then it's out. What do you mean letting your dog go out in an unfenced yard at all?
Can I?
What?
According to our dog officer, because I fought this with the fact that that neighbor does let their dog out in the driveway.
I'm not talking about the neighbor, I'm talking about you.
Right, they said because it's common property, the dog does not have to be leashed.
I'm talking to you. We're going to get to your defense in a second. Now I'd like to see the police report of the burglary.
I have that right here.
What time did you get home from work?
I got home from work, it was roughly about 1:30.
In the morning?
In the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And is that your usual time of getting home from work?
Roughly, yes.
Yes. And where was your dog, whose name is Thomas?
In the house.
Inside?
Yes. I left for work at 3.
Just a second.
Okay.
The dog was inside the house. Where were you?
I was at work.
So you think that Thomas let himself back in the house after the house was burglarized? What you said was the burglar left the door open, and Thomas must have gotten out. And so what you're suggesting is that after he did what he had to do, and he got into a kerfuffle with the plaintiff's son and dog, he let himself back into the house. Is that what?
No. After they got into the dog fight, the dog officer took him away. I wasn't even home when this was all going on.
I said to you, where was Thomas when you got home? You said he was in the house.
Right, he was in the house. I got home from work. He was in the house. I got changed because I had to go get him from work because he needed to go to an appointment. Went in the back door that I always go in, left the back door, went to go pick him up, and while I was picking him up and we were in the next town over is when my house got broken into.
When you got home, how did you find out that animal control had your dog?
Well, we were on our way to appointment. His friend called him and said, hey, your dog is in a dog fight. And we said, what are you talking about? I left there probably about an hour ago. What do you mean? They said, your front door is wide open and your dog is down the street and is in a dog fight. Animal control has your dog. I don't know where they've sent it, but it's a big mess down there. That's how we found out about it.
So after you got that, you called in a report of a burglary.
I said to them, I said, well, someone had to have gotten into my house.
After you got that call, you called in a report of a burglary.
When we got to the house, yes. I ended up going to the house because I called the police department.
Did they catch anybody?
No. I called the police department, and they went to the house, and I said I want someone to be there when I enter, because I guess the neighbor closed my door after, and walked in, and my table was moved a little bit.
I don't believe a word that you're saying. Not one word. Not a word. This is not a police report of a burglary. It doesn't list any missing property. You mean that the only thing that this burglar did was open the door and let your dog out? This burglar went into your house, opened the dog ran out of the house. This vicious dog ran out of the house, so now the burglar had clear passage into your house to take your TV, your VCR, your Xbox, your jewelry, everything else. But the only thing that this burglar did was let your dog out. According to this report. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. We're done here.
Parties are excused and they step out.
When my son came home screaming, saying that
the town banned him, I had to rehome him.
Him and my dog had just been mauled by a pit bull.
And give him away. But she's in a loving home. He's in a good situation.
It was horrible.
That's what I had to do.
You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. and Mrs. McCroskey, when were you married?
June 15th of 2014.
Who gave you an old boat for a wedding gift?
It was a former coworker of mine and friend.
Tell me the circumstances of getting it.
She wanted us to...
No, look at me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Her and her husband had a smaller boat, and they're an older couple, and they felt that they could handle the smaller boat better than the larger boat, so they were wanting to discard of their boat and asked us if we would be interested and would give that to us as a wedding present.
So you exchanged no money for it?
There was no money exchanged.
And did you use the boat?
We did.
For how long?
We used it one time.
When?
We took it out July 4th of 2014.
Why didn't you take it out again?
We don't own a truck, and it cost us quite a bit of money to rent a truck to take it out the one time. And we felt that we didn't want to make an investment into purchasing a truck just so we could take the boat out a couple times a year.
Got it. So you left the boat where?
It was in our driveway.
Can I see pictures of it? I assume you have it. So you decided to sell it, and you sold it to the defendants, who were old friends. You knew each other for a while, and the price, according to you, that you agreed on was?
$2,000.
According to you, they paid you $1,000.
That is correct.
And didn't pay you the remainder.
That is correct.
Now, Mr. Rodriguez and Ms. Taylor say that the original deal was actually not that. They made some convoluted deal that they were going to take it and see if they liked it and put it in the water. But then if you gave them another $500, making it $1,000, they wouldn't sell it to anybody else. All of that, I must tell you, I'm not sure I believe. Now, you took the boat on what date? You took the
August
boat.
3rd.
And on August 3rd, you gave them $500.
That's correct.
And the agreed price was $2,000.
That's correct.
What date did they take the boat?
The actual date of purchase was done on August 3rd, 2014. The actual date they took possession was August 8th, 2014, at which point they paid $300 more towards the sale of the boat.
300 more.
Yes.
On 8/8. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
They have a bill of sale, I assume.
Yes, we do.
That's signed. And that was signed on August 3rd. Did you pick up the boat the same day that you bought it?
No. No.
You came back for it when?
August 8th.
Okay. And on August 8th, did you give them any more money?
$500 in total. I think it was 2 payments, $300 and then $200, which made it $1,000. We took possession August 8th.
Okay. So by August 8th, you had given them
$1,000.
$1,000. Well,
yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That is also not correct. The final payment of $200 was made on August 17th.
Doesn't matter. By August 17th, they had paid you $1,000. It doesn't matter.
We were told they just wanted the boat off of their property, so we made arrangements and did that to get it off the property.
That's okay.
Basically, we were doing them a favor, Your Honor.
You weren't doing them a favor at all. And don't speak out of turn. You weren't doing them a favor. This was a negotiated deal. They had a piece of property. You wanted the piece of property.
But we were doing them a favor because they wanted it off their property.
Of course they wanted it off their property. If they didn't want it off their property, they wouldn't have sold
Well, they
it.
didn't have any room for it. That was the whole purpose of it.
Mr. Rodriguez, are you not hearing yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course they wanted it off their property. They weren't going to use it. And if they weren't going to use it because they didn't have a truck, and they weren't going to invest in the truck, they're going to get rid of an asset that they had. And they sold you an asset. They didn't sell you an asset because they wanted to keep it. They sold you an asset because they didn't want it on their property anymore. That's not you doing them a favor. I mean, that's like my going into a Chevrolet dealership and saying, I want that car. We negotiate a price. I take the car and I say to them, you know what? I'm not going to finish paying you because I was really doing you a favor taking the car off your lot. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's not how it worked out. We didn't pay him the money because the boat had a crack in it.
Oh, well,
it was
that's
no good.
Just a second. That's not what you said in the answer. Let me tell you what Miss Taylor said. She said they wanted us to get the boat out of their yard. They said if we gave them a $500 deposit that day, they wouldn't sell the boat to anyone else. And if we wanted to buy the boat, they would sell it to us for $2,000. We wanted to take it out before we purchased it. So the plaintiff said that once they give them half, we could take it out. I mean, this is a convoluted story. But now you tell me what is your legitimate defense, at least in your mind, that you didn't want to pay them the rest of the money.
That's
because
correct.
the boat had a crack in it, right?
That's correct.
Right. Now I'm going to ask you, Now I'm going to ask you the following question. After you paid them $1,000, when was the first time that you took the boat out?
About a month later.
And between that time when you gave them $1,000 and the time that you took the boat out, did you have any communication with them?
No.
None. Is that right, Mr. Rodriguez?
That's correct.
So you took the boat out on the water and?
It didn't start.
And?
So I put it back on the trailer and took it home.
And?
That's where your son stuck. And that's when I called the mechanic to have him come check it out.
And?
He checked it out and figured out that the starter needed to be rebuilt and they needed to put new batteries in it.
And?
So I had my mechanic and my son take it out and have them checked it out. They went out and they found that there was a crack in the boat.
And?
We brought it back before it sunk.
Just a second. Mr. Rodriguez, watch what you just said to me. You said between the time that you gave them the $1,000 and you took the boat out on the water, you had no communication with them, which means that you gave them $300 after you took the boat out on the water. And what you say is, in here, because you want the title to the boat, what you say, or what Miss Taylor says is, that Stacy took $300 from you and agreed to accept that in full satisfaction of the boat. So you actually paid additional money after you found that the boat needed a new starter and after you realized it had a crack in it, you paid her additional money.
That's correct.
That was in Vegas. That was in Las Vegas. She approached my husband.
I don't care if it was in Las Vegas or on Mars. If you have a boat that you say, I'm not going to go out in again because it's not seaworthy, and you decide not to go through with the deal, you don't give them extra money. Unless what you want to do is you wanted to shoot down the price that you had agreed on because there were things that had to be fixed on the boat. And you say, yes, we'll keep it. But it's got more things wrong with it than we thought.
No, she approached us in Vegas.
And said?
And said that if he gave her $300,
she would sign title to the boat.
Just a second. It's exactly what I just said to you.
That's correct.
She would call it even.
They call it even. That's exactly
But the thing about it is she didn't tell her husband about that.
Who cares?
And they got into an altercation in Las Vegas, and that's why they're suing us.
That's why we're here.
I don't care. You don't understand. I just said exactly what you said, only I said it in legal terms, which was you agreed on $2,000, you took the boat out, you decided it had mechanical things wrong with it and a crack in it, but you didn't say, I want all my money back. You said, I want the boat. Put your hand down, sir. So far, it doesn't sound like you're losing, right?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
I don't want to not have the boat. I want the boat, but I don't want the boat for $2,000. I want the boat for $1,300.
No, we approached them at one time. She had called, and we had told them we were not interested in the boat. They said to give the boat back to them, and if they sold the boat, they would give us
our money back.
Just a second. Then what did you give them the $300 for? Miss Taylor.
This was when she approached him in Las Vegas.
I said Las Vegas or Mars. It makes no difference to me. What you say in your answer and in your countersuit is that I have fully paid for this boat by giving them the $300 in Pluto, Mars, or Vegas. That was the deal. We originally made a deal for $2,000. I wasn't giving them the other $1,000 because there were mechanical things wrong with it and things I didn't like. But I say, all right, I'll forget all of those things, but you have to come down with the price and take $1,300 because you're asking for the title back because you say I paid the full purchase price, which was what it was agreed to with Stacy. That's what you say in your answer. Well, they clearly don't owe you $1,000, sir. You understand that? They gave her $300.
No, ma'am. They did not give me $300 in Vegas.
She was belligerently drunk. She got into an altercation with me.
She says that she gave her $300. And I believe that, sir. That she gave her, or he gave her $300, and they said, we just made $700 because we agreed to purchase this boat for $2,000. Now we got it for $1,300. That's a pretty good deal. We'll spend the other $700 in getting it seaworthy because you can fix it, right? Now, I believe that they gave you
Actually,
$300.
Your Honor, what happened in Vegas, it was the day that we were going to the races, and I had not been drinking. And I approached Mr. Rodriguez, and I said to him that if you gave me $500...
Oh, my God.
that we would be able to take that price off. He said,
she
I'm not
approached
going
my husband in her pajamas.
Listen to me. Don't speak.
He said that he would not give me the $500 until after we returned from Vegas, and actually we didn't have any further communication.
I don't want to
with
hear
them.
from you yet.
He saw the
I don't want to hear
transaction.
from you yet.
There was no funds given to me in Las Vegas because he did not want me to.
Did you go there
not
together,
forget.
by the way, to Vegas?
Well, we flew separate, but we were together, yes.
But you were together.
Yeah, there was a big altercation. Police were involved. She wanted to get my girlfriend arrested. She was screaming up and down at the airport. She was detained at the airport till the next morning because she was so drunk that they weren't even allow her on the plane.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Gabriel Rodriguez and his girlfriend, Jana Taylor, owe for a boat and trailer. The defendants claim the boat has a crack in it. They are countersuing for the return of the money they paid or the title.
Now, you owe them $700 for the boat. You paid $1,300. You had a deal for $2,000. You owe them $700.
Yeah, but they sold us a defective boat.
Listen to me. No, you bought a defective boat. There's a difference. They can sell you anything if you are not bright enough to ensure that you're spending your money on something that's seaworthy. That's your problem. You're not buying a new boat from Chris Craft.
Well, then why did they want to take the boat back, sell it, and then give me back my money?
We were told to take the boat. There was nothing wrong with it.
You owe them $700. Now, you have the title to the boat?
I do.
Very good. Sign it over to them, and then we're done.
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
That boat wasn't even seaworthy, Your Honor.
That's your problem, so you should have been smarter. You should have had it inspected before you bought it.
But we're not maritime people.
I don't care whether you're maritime people. I'm not a maritime person.
They told us in good faith that the boat was good.
They told us to pay half.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Mr.
Rodriguez, let's not argue. This is not an argument that we're having. This
I'm
is
not
a
trying
case.
to argue, Your Honor.
Very
I'm just
good.
trying to state my case.
Well, but you did, and I ruled. I said when you buy a used anything, a used car, a used boat.
Then why would they want to take it back and then give me my money back?
Don't ask me questions.
I don't
asked
understand
you.
that.
It's not my place.
Well, that's why
to
we're
explain.
here.
But I just explained it to you. You don't want to hear it. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for
But
a
it's
reason.
not that I don't want to hear it. That's not what happened.
I've just explained it to you. You made a deal for $2,000 and then you wanted it for $1,300. That's what you're
I didn't
saying.
want anything.
That's what
She approached us for the $300, and she was belligerently drunk, and she accepted and didn't tell her husband about it.
Very good. You owe them $700 for the boat. They're signing over the title. Now you have the title and you have the boat. Great. We're done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I believe that Mr. Rodriguez actually had committed the damage to the boat.
Well, I'm just glad it's over, but, you know.
Because I had informed him about the starter issues. He had inspected the boat.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम दोस्तों, वेलकम वालेटा यूट्यूब चैनल। एक दफ़ा से फिर से आपको खुश आमदीद अपने यूट्यूब चैनल पर। उम्मीद करता हूँ आप बिल्कुल ही खैरियत से होंगे, और ये भी उम्मीद करता हूँ जिस तरह से आप लोगों ने मेरी पिछली वीडियो को सपोर्ट किया اور ان ویڈیو سے آپ نے جو بھی چیزیں سیکھی تھی، امید کرتا ہوں اس ویڈیو میں بھی آپ سپورٹ کریں گے اور اس ویڈیو سے بھی آپ کافی کچھ لرن کرنے والے ہیں۔ جی ہاں بالکل دوستو، آپ نے صحیح سنا، آپ اس ویڈیو سے بھی لرن کریں گے اور آپ کو بہت کچھ سیکھنے کو ملے گا۔ اس چینل پر آپ کو ٹیک ریلیٹڈ ہر قسم کی ویڈیو آپ کو ملتی رہتی ہیں، تو آپ نے اس چینل کو بالکل مس نہیں کرنا، جلدی سے سبسکرائب کر لیں اور بیل آئیکن کو بھی پریس کر لیں تاکہ میری ہر آنے والی انفارمیشن ویڈیو آپ کو ٹائم سے ٹائم ملتی رہے اور آپ سب سے پہلے واچ کر سکیں۔ تو آج اس چیز کے بارے میں ہم ریویو کرنے والے ہیں، وہ ہے G5 کا ایک پیڈ والا موبائل۔ تو یہ آپ کے سامنے ہے G5 کا کی پیڈ موبائل، اور کافی اچھی اور خوبصورت لک میں ہے یہ G5 کے، بہت ہی خوبصورت لک میں۔ ہمیشہ G5 نے بہت ہی امیزنگ قسم کے موبائل کو مارکیٹ میں لانچ کیے ہیں، تو یہ بھی اسی میں سے ایک مثال ہے۔ اس کی سب سے اہم جو بات ہوتی ہے G5 کی، اس میں FM جو آپ کو سامنے بڑا سا لکھا بھی ہوگا بیچ والے بٹن میں، اس میں FM کی جو کوالٹی ہے نا، وہ شاید آپ کو کسی مہنگے سے مہنگے برانڈ والے موبائل میں بھی نہ ملے۔ جی ہاں بالکل، آپ نے صحیح فرمایا، کیونکہ اس میں FM کی کوالٹی انتہائی ہائی لیول کی ہوتی ہے، اور بے شمار چینل آپ کے علاقے میں، کہ آپ جہاں بھی ہیں آپ کے علاقے میں یہ چینل کیچ کرے گا FM کے، وہ کچھ رہے گا۔ تو یہ ہے اس کی بیک سائڈ، یہ فرنٹ سائڈ ہے، اس میں یہ چارجنگ سائڈ والی ہے، یہ لائٹ ہے اس کی۔ اور اسی کے ساتھ مجھے دیجیے اجازت، ملتے ہیں نیکسٹ ویڈیو میں، تب تک کے لیے اللہ حافظ۔